Try to move. You're dying. I may have your cure, but I'm not going to lie. This will hurt.
In her original alignment, Lana Beniko was a female human who fought for the Sith Empire. In addition to being wealthy, her parents were well known in the Sith capital, Dromund Kars. By Imperial law, Lana was required to become proficient in the ways of the dark side when she showed signs of Force sensitivity. Upon being taken to Korriban, she would face the trials of the Sith Academy with other potential acolytes. As a matter of fact, she was even educated by Overseer Harkin.
Now, I believe it's time for another demonstration. Gur, step forward.
Yes, Overseer.
Fon, kill him.
With pleasure, Overseer.
Let Gur be an example to you.
It was even Lana who completed a trial that required her to retrieve the helmet of Tulak Hord. Following her graduation from Korriban, Lana gained a reputation as a highly capable member of the Sith. At a young age, Lana participated in a small skirmish between Republic and Imperial troops during the Treaty of Coruscant. Those events occurred during her apprenticeship as a Sith on Hoth. Lana cut off the hand of her superior at the time in order to save her own troops and survive. This was because her superior wanted to keep fighting, as Lana was aware everyone would die if they don't cease fire. As a result of her actions, everyone went home that day. This is true for even the Republic soldiers. Lana's personality was not one of ruthlessness or savagery. Despite being recruited and trained by the Sith, she did not adhere to all of their ideals. Lana even condoned peaceful transactions with other people and was more than open to learning new avenues of the Force. There have not been many questions posed to Lana about this from within the Sith Empire, nor was this something normally seen among the Sith themselves. In other words, it would appear that they were more than willing to let her find her own path. As a result of that, or because of the ongoing war, many Sith were able to delve into topics they otherwise would not have been able to. As Lana sought more experience on the battlefield, she requested stationing with Darth Arkus. Joining the sphere of military offense would certainly satisfy her needs. Darth Arkus, who was the leader of the sphere of military offense, accepted this request after seeing Lana's skill not only with the Force, but also with initiative and cunning. However, Lana discovers a conspiracy that implicates her superior, Darth Arkus, to be a traitor and working with the Republic.
Darth Arkus wasn't entirely forthcoming about his reasons for invading the Jedi Temple. Not even with me. He was after a very specific item. An artifact. I think the Empire's in terrible danger. I'm used to offering my counsel to others. Now I turn to you for yours, Dark Lord. Will you help me?
When she investigates this further, she finds small clues that lead to Manaan. While on the planet Manaan, Lana was able to make allies with a Republic SIS agent named Ferron Shan, who had also similarly discerned this plot from his side within the Republic. As such, that made everyone have a mutual goal. An alliance was beneficial. After chasing her gut feeling, Lana discovers that Darth Arkus had been working with a Republic colonel for the sake of some secret cult. The breadcrumb trail she followed led right to Rakata Pram, and exposed the Revanite group and even Revan himself.
As important as Arkus and Derek were to the cause, their deaths won't stop us. They won't even slow us down.
That voice. I've heard it before.
It's Revan.
I almost had the infinite army I wanted so badly. But even without them, I have enough.
Darth Arkus had stated he was going to recruit Lana into the Revanites, as she was a valuable asset. However, Arkus declared that Lana Beniko had changed the moment Lana met the player character of Star Wars The Old Republic. The player then kills Arkus and Darok on Rakata, However, this backfires when Revanite spies and infiltrators start popping up. These spies attempt to paint Lana Beniko the bad guy for allegedly killing Darth Arcus. Lana and Theron work on ways to expose Revan and his secret cult to the galaxy, and they start on the planet Rishi. After being able to uncover a connection between local gangs of Rishi and the Revanites, Lana reaches out to her contact, which is the player character.
Lana Beniko.
Dark Lord. An honor, as ever. If we're to succeed here, we'll need to cooperate a great deal. I suggest we don't antagonize one another.
Together, they were able to regroup and overpower the gangs of Rishi to force their benefactor out of hiding. Lana came up with a plan to get Theron captured purposely by the Revanites so that they can gain information. However, she didn't tell Theron that that was the plan, and this caused a rift in trust between them.
Don't you teach your people anything, Lana?
Agent, compose yourself. While Darth Marr and I have reached an accord, many of those under our command obviously don't share our sense of commitment.
Despite being allies with Theron, Lana was more than willing to get the job done than any other. She knew how to put duty, doing the right thing, over anything else, even if that sometimes meant getting your allies kidnapped for the sake of gathering intel. After Theron was rescued, the team and Lana were able to expose a plot to resurrect the Emperor on Revan's behalf.
Darth Marr, you have traitors in your fleet. Scores of them, acting under orders from Revan.
Revan is alive.
He wants you to destroy each other up there.
Finally, an open line.
Grandmaster Shan, it appears we have been set upon each other by your ancestor.
Revan intended to lure the Emperor out of hiding on Yavin 4 so that he could destroy him once and for all. But because of Lana's actions and discoveries, these facts were brought to Darth Marr and Satele Shan, who then arranged a temporary truce so that they may deal with the Revanite threats.
We're taking measures to detain the traitors among us.
As are we. Given the nature of the threat, I suggest we speak in person.
Very well. A neutral location.
There's a pirate town on Rishi. My team will send the coordinates.
That will do.
This became a part of history, a moment that would be remembered for a long time. The Republic and Empire had joined forces to take down a mutual enemy. Lana Beniko, along with her team, were at the forefront of this event. This would establish an even higher level of reputation across the galaxy for Lana. Once the Revanite threat was extinguished, Darth Marr personally appointed Lana Beniko as the new head of Sith intelligence.
You are to be commended, of course. But it was Lana Beniko's guile and intellect that made your participation at all possible. That is why I have placed Lana in charge of Sith intelligence.
This was an incredible honor for Lana. The only thing that could have beaten it would have been a seat on the Dark Council itself. However, Lana was never one for titles, and Sith intelligence suited her more than adequately. In the following weeks, Lana Beniko had been positioned on the planet Ziost, which is where they suspected their former Emperor had fled to. However, soon after, the Emperor started possessing and controlling large pockets of people across the planet's surface, which led to all-out conflict and chaos. Lana had no choice but to request a player character's aid on Ziost. Eventually, more reinforcements showed up to Ziost, but it was all done in vain. The former Sith Emperor, Darth Vitiate, had once again consumed an entire world. Luckily, Lana and her team were not on the surface when this disaster happened. Lana knew full well that she could not single-handedly oppose someone like the Emperor, so she devoted herself to aiding the player character as a companion in the times to come. Lana Beniko has been silently working behind the scenes for the benefit of opposing the Eternal Empire, who had now 5 years ago taken the galaxy by force. The Empire and Republic were both beaten into submission by Aryn, the son of the immortal Emperor Valkorion. During the 5-year gap, Lana had been building relationships with allies and keeping the rebellion alive. She had teamed up with the likes of Koth Fortina and that to this day, Theron Shan. Lana had personally conducted a plan to rescue the player character from Carbonite Prison and the custody of the Eternal Empire. Once they are reunited, Lana brings them up to speed, and the long, grueling fight against Aryn begins. If you want to learn everything about Aryn, Valkorion, and everyone else in the family, be sure to check out my Explained series as we cover a lot of the Old Republic lore. Lana Beniko now spends her time aiding the Outlander, also known as the player character, in their fight against Aryn. She will accept a romance if you choose to chase one with her, regardless of gender or species. At this point in time, Lana's character begins to shift their focus. She goes from a duty-fulfilling Sith Lord to a now loyalist of the Outlander. Lana completely devotes herself and her skills to the newly formed Alliance. She had already explained that she does not think much to titles, so chasing some naive ambition was off the table for her. Serving the Alliance commander was now her only mission. After the defeat of Valkorion and his children, Lana further proved her loyalty by remaining by the player's side even after deciding to dissolve the Alliance and/or return to the Republic or Empire. It would be more than fair to say that Lana no longer walked the path of your average Sith Lord. While she still believed in the fundamental truths behind Sith teachings, such as using your anger to fuel your power, she was becoming more and more open to learning more about the Force and even the Jedi. Lana could be seen conversing with Jedi Master Nostral about philosophy, which again is not something you see your average Sith Lord doing. Lana Beniko has continued to be loyal and support the player character of Star Wars The Old Republic, and her tale is yet to come to an end within the current storyline. So for now, Lana Beniko is a very well-known Sith Lord, who sits as basically the right hand to the most powerful person in the galaxy, the player. However, I have my suspicions that Lana is yet to betray us. In the most recent story events of Legacy of the Sith, it would seem a new mysterious Sith has been possibly lurking in the shadows, Darth Nul. My suspicions would have me believe that Lana Beniko is quite possibly this Darth Nul character, or connected to them in some way. Lana has been an anomaly for players as she plays one of, if not the most important companion role in the entire game right now. You cannot choose, no matter what, to dismiss Lana or not involve her in the next big thing. Lana is forced upon you like a main character. Does Lana Beniko have anything to do with Darth Nul? Or perhaps she really is just an unusual Sith Lord? Subscribe to the channel so you can find out what happens in the end, as we will be making a follow-up video when that happens. Please consider supporting us on Patreon. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.
The will of the Force is a flowing current. You can follow or fight it, but it is always there. In life, I dismissed the Jedi Code. I was wrong. There is no death. There is only the Force. And it has a plan.
Born in the year 3702 BBY, Darth Marr entered the world just 2 short years ahead of the Sith warrior known as Darth Malgus. while the details of his birth name and the identity of his enigmatic dark side mentor remain shrouded in obscurity. It is reasonable to assume that Marr was nurtured amidst the dark and foreboding Sith citadel of Dromund Kaas, where he would have undergone rigorous training akin to that of Darth Malgus. Darth Marr's ascendancy to notoriety transpired during the resurgence of the Sith Empire. He etched his name into the annals of history by consistently taking the front lines of the war, emerging victorious in every battle he engaged. Adorned with a distinctive ruby-hued lightsaber, his very presence on the battlefield emitted an ominous, deathly symphony. Draped in the fearsome Sith Ravager's battle attire, he presented an intimidating visage that often sent adversaries fleeing in terror. His face, concealed behind a mask designed to evoke the likeness of a Sith spawn, a sinister dark side abomination, gave rise to a macabre rumour. It whispered that his countenance had become so nightmarish that witnessing it invited one's own demise. This unsettling tale was born when a Grand Moff, having failed to heed Darth Marr's directives, was summoned to a disciplinary meeting. Legend has it that Marr unveiled his visage to the Grand Moff, who subsequently resigned and took their own life. In his youthful vigour, Darth Marr achieved a remarkable feat by recovering the lightsaber of Tulak Hord during the throes of war. He safeguarded this priceless artifact with utmost secrecy, entrusting its whereabouts to no soul but his own, preferring to wield the weapon he had brandished as an apprentice. Using Tulak Hord's saber might have been construed as a display of arrogance to his peers. Alternatively, it may have been a calculated decision to eschew the burden of safeguarding such a valuable relic at his waist. Regardless, this feat did not go unnoticed by fellow Sith Lords, who accorded him due respect. As a result of Marr's relentless aggression on the battlefield, the Sith Empire secured numerous victories. His reputation resonated even among non-Force users within the Armada, solidifying his standing. As the war's flames raged on, the Emperor's gaze fell upon Marr, recognizing his extraordinary abilities and accomplishments. Thus the Emperor bestowed upon Darth Marr a seat on the prestigious Dark Council, entrusting him with the sphere of military defense. Marr's military acumen became indispensable to the Empire's defense. With Marr in command and his personal fleet at his disposal, he successfully shielded the worlds of Korriban and Ziost from relentless Republic counterattacks during the war, ensuring that offensive fleets could maintain their positions without the spectre of losing their homeworlds. Before the war's conclusion, Darth Marr chose an apprentice named Darth Lacris. A human female, Lacris proved to be a fitting protege for Marr, sharing his vision and mannerisms. She recognized that her master viewed aliens not as slaves, but as potential allies, a perspective that diverged from the norm within Sith culture. Furthermore, she understood Marr's unwavering commitment to defending the Empire from all threats, even those that lurked within its own ranks. While many Sith Lords schemed to undermine each other, Darth Marr eschewed such treacherous intrigues, advocating an end to internal strife, a sentiment that Darth Malgus would eventually act upon years later. As the war concluded and the Treaty of Coruscant was ratified, the Emperor's silence mandated that the Dark Council assume responsibility for governing the Sith Empire following their galactic triumph. Proactively, Darth Marr embarked on a mission to strengthen the Empire's foundations and expand its network of allies. At this point in time, Darth Marr became the longest-serving Dark Council member, as he survived the war and the Cold War. The Council made several contentious decisions, including opening the Sith world of Ziost to non-alien species, fostering trade relations and livelihoods for various worlds. The conclusion of one war marked the onset of another, the Cold War, an era that would become the backdrop for the events of Star Wars: The Old Republic. During this tumultuous period, Darth Marr experienced a vision of his apprentice's impending demise on Balmorra. He summoned her to the Dark Council chamber, subjecting her to a harrowing ordeal. By bringing her to the brink of death himself, he granted her a vision, a warning that she would meet her end on Balmorra. In a stern proclamation, Darth Marr impressed upon his apprentice that no one could elude death, and if Balmorra was her destiny, she must confront it, regardless of the outcome. The devs made an entire blog post about this encounter, and I made it into a video for you. Check it out. The price of power. Darth Lacris accepted this daunting task, yet her fate ultimately led to her demise at the hands of the Jedi Order's SWTOR. The bounty hunter narrative intersected with Darth Marr when they undertook a mission to deliver the Republic Chancellor, a testament to Marr's continued efforts to disrupt the Republic, often with success. Concurrently, the Dark Council began to hear of Darth Barris's audacious claims, as he proclaimed himself the Emperor's new voice and divine messenger. However, a challenger emerged to undermine Barris, and the matter was settled in a climactic Dark Council session, where Barris was left to fend for himself. Fearing displeasing the Emperor, Darth Marr permitted the challenger to confront Barris in the Council's presence, letting only the victor's words resonate.
No. Barris claims to be the voice. This lord claims to be the wrath. I will not provoke the Emperor. The one who lives speaks truth.
Subsequently, another complex matter unfolded as Darth Thanaton abandoned a challenge of Kagaf, summoning the Dark Council to seek assistance against his own challenger. This backfired when Thanaton's challenger appeared at the council meeting, exposing his bluff. Thanaton met his demise within the council chamber, prompting Marr to acknowledge that Thanaton had been a more formidable Sith than he had received credit for. Ironic, considering that Darth Marr himself had killed Thanaton's master in the very spot where Thanaton lay dying now. Shortly thereafter, Darth Malgus seized a moment of opportunity during the Emperor's silence, launching a coup that rapidly assumed control of the Empire, catching everyone off guard. While Marr's views arguably aligned with those of Malgus, Sith politics likely led him to perceive no favourable outcome in joining the rebellion. This is perhaps why we do not see Darth Marr involved with this story arc. Darth Marr continued his relentless schedule, participating in numerous galactic events, including the acquisition of Isotope 5 from Makeb, and the procurement of new weapons of mass destruction. Darth Marr also summoned the player character to confront the Dreadmasters during the Dread War on Oricon. At this juncture, Darth Marr was approximately 64 years old, leveraging his extensive experience and formidable force powers to assume an unofficial rulership over the Dark Council, his authority unquestioned. When Revan emerged in the galaxy, Darth Marr made a controversial decision by forging a peace treaty with the Jedi and forming an alliance to combat Revan. This choice led many Sith purists to either abandon the Empire or engage in subversive activities. As the confrontation with Revan ensued, Darth Marr demonstrated that even in his advanced age, he remains capable of confronting formidable adversaries, including Revan Reborn.
You are wrong, Revan. He has powerful allies.
After Revan's defeat, the Emperor's malevolent plan to consume all life became apparent. Disapproving of this perilous path, Darth Marr and the Dark Council stripped the Emperor of his command. The Jedi and Sith, in their pursuit of the Emperor, maintained an uneasy peace as they embarked on their quest to thwart him. However, the Republic appeared complacent in their efforts, leaving the onus seemingly upon Darth Marr to spearhead the search for the elusive Emperor, especially in the aftermath of Zyost's devastation. During the search, a new faction emerged, known as the Eternal Empire, which rampaged across the galaxy, wreaking havoc and slaying influential figures. Surviving these relentless Eternal raids, Darth Marr remained steadfast in his mission to locate the Emperor. In his quest, he ventured into wild space, where he encountered a foreign probe that ultimately led the Eternal fleet to their location. Overwhelmed, Marr's flagship succumbed, and he and the player character were taken captive. Subsequently, both the player character and Darth Marr found themselves transported to Zakuul, face to face with the enigmatic Eternal Emperor, Valkorion.
Is this why you brought us? To hear you bicker with soothsayers?
Come along.
You're taking us to your master.
I'm taking you to my father, Valkorion, the immortal Emperor of Zakuul.
An emperor. Just what we were searching for.
It became swiftly evident to Marr that Valkorion was none other than the Sith Emperor, concealing himself behind a new facade.
A new name. A new face. These are not enough to hide from us.
The Sith Emperor. Your presence is unmistakable.
In a heated exchange, Marr refused to kneel before Valkorion, triggering an outburst that culminated in Valkorion unleashing a divine blast of Force lightning that claimed Marr's life.
I will never again kneel to you. It is you who fears death, Valkorion. I do not. I will not kneel.
Darth Marr had been the Empire's most revered leader, yet even his formidable power proved insufficient in the face of the Emperor's wrath. Valkorion would later claim that Marr's perspectives were narrow-minded, bound by irrelevant ancient dogma. Many, however, would vehemently disagree, recognizing that Marr had always prioritized the welfare of his people and the Empire's future in the vast galaxy. But the tale of Darth Marr did not conclude with his demise. Through sheer willpower, he resisted the call of the Void and returned to the material realm as a Force ghost. Resolute in his mission, a true Sith, he defied death itself, a feat akin to that of Revan. Darth Marr's spirit sought out Satele Shan, the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, finding her in solitude on Urdessan. After a spirited debate, they reached a profound understanding. Darth Marr regarded Satele as his equal in the entire galaxy. Together, they forged a new philosophy transcending the boundaries of light and dark, embracing balance as the guiding principle. Darth Marr's spirit played a pivotal role in guiding the player character, offering valuable lessons and aiding in the construction of a new lightsaber for their confrontation with a formidable enemy. Darth Marr remained veiled in silence until Lord Scourge and Kira Carson revealed that the Sith Emperor had survived with a contingency plan. As the galaxy's heroes united within the mindscape of Satele Shan, Darth Marr appeared once more, offering his support to the player character. Standing alongside the Emperor's other victims, he was ultimately laid to rest for the last time when the Emperor was vanquished. His spirit found its peace, becoming one with the Force, an achievement that set him apart as one of the most distinctive Sith Lords to ever exist. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more just like it, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. May the Force be with you.
No one is more surprised than I am to be here in this moment. But I trust the will of the Force. If you listen with an open mind, we felt something we'd lost for a long time. hope. You must not only know when to fight, but when to retreat, or even to make peace with your foe. I led the fight to save the Republic from Zakul. Nothing prepared me to face that enemy. I failed. Again and again. I sent Jedi to fight an enemy I didn't understand. Because I believed in the justness of my cause. Those deaths still haunt me. I gave myself to the will of the Force. Jedi approach the Force as a companion, and Sith try to enslave it. Light and dark exist in perfect balance. Our time has passed. This is your war to fight. You will decide the fate of the Jedi, the Republic, the galaxy. You have a destiny to fulfill. Your success or failure will not merely decide the galaxy's fate. It will change everything, forever. We'll show you a path. You'll find your own way.
Satele Shan is a human female born on the world of Brental 5. As the name suggests, Satele is indeed related to the Jedi known as Bastila Shan, and in turn, also Revan. Satele was born in the year of 3699 BBY. This makes Satele roughly 74 years old in the most modern timeline of the Old Republic game. Her early life is very similar to the stories of other recruited young Padawans. Satele was brought into the Order with what was likely to be high expectations given the fact she descended from what they know as legends. Satele Shan was taken under the wing of a Jedi Master named Darth Nul. Under Master Darth Nul's study, she was able to achieve the rank of Jedi Knight. After this promotion in rank, Satele was sent to the orbital station of Korriban to be further trained by another Jedi Master. This one in particular was the Jedi Battle Master Khao Chen Darak. As we know, on this station is where we witnessed the awesome return of the Sith Empire. This means Satele Shan achieved the rank of Jedi Knight when she was roughly 18 years old, and was this old when she fought Malgus and his master Darth Vindican. Fun fact, Malgus himself was 19 years old during this fight, likely making him one of the youngest Sith Lords ever to kill their own master.
Welcome home.
If you want to learn about the Old Republic and its lore, then be sure to check out my Explained playlist, as the Old Republic is our speciality. Back to Satele. As we know from the CGI trailers, Satele's new master, Khao Chen Darak, was slain in battle while she herself was able to escape with the help of a Republic commander named Jace Malcom and a scoundrel named Nico Akar. They were able to return to safe territory and warn the Republic of the Sith Empire's return. Satele was later taken under the wing of Jedi Master Nagani Zur. At this point in time, the galaxy had plunged into war against the Sith Empire. Satele was able to exceed the Jedi Order's expectations of her, and was seen to many as the very symbol of what being a Jedi was, almost as if she were the living incarnation of the light side itself. Satele herself was more modest, but her capability could not be questioned. In 3667 BBY, the Battle of Alderaan took place. Darth Malgus had led an assault on Alderaan that almost left it in crumbles. However, Jace Malcom and his Havoc squad were still alive on the surface, and begun a guerrilla warfare against the Sith within the forests. As we know, Satele joins this battle and helps Havoc squad claim victory. What's important here is that it was around this time that Satele Shan and Jace Malcom started a love affair. This lasted for 6 months, but eventually Satele sensed darkness within the heart of Jace, so she made the hard choice to leave him and cut her emotional ties. No one knew of this secret. However, after leaving Jace and Alderaan behind, Satele had sensed through the Force that she carried another life. She was pregnant, and Jace is the father. There was no way she could hide this from the Jedi Order, so she came clean to her master, at the time, Jedi Master Nagani Zo. Because of Satel's reputation in the Republican Jedi, and the fact others saw her as a symbol of hope, her master had decided that it was in the galaxy's best interest to keep Satel's pregnancy secret. If others of the Order heard of this, they may see it as validation to attempt the same thing. Master Nagani Zo lied to the Jedi High Council and told them Satele was needed off-world for at least 9 months, to deal with a matter of life and death. Given the fact it was the time of war, the Council saw this as non-suspicious and asked no questions. This was the perfect cover while she carried and delivered her child. Satele knew that she wouldn't be able to raise a child. Her place was with the Republic and helping to defend the galaxy. She couldn't be a mother at the same time. She wasn't even sure how to be a mother, but her greatest concern of all was the fact that she already bonded with her child that was growing inside of her. A boy, she could sense him. Satele felt a love for her child that towered over all other things. She would do anything for him. Anything. And that is why she had to let him go. She could not risk the temptation of unconditional love. If she fell to the dark side because something happened to him, it could mean the end of the Jedi. Jedi Master Nagani Zo agreed with Satele to take the child and raise him. Her master was there for the delivery of the baby, even cut the umbilical cord. Satele named her newborn son Theron. She almost let her master name the child, but he insisted that she should name him. Theron was born in the year of 3666 BBY, making him roughly 40 years old in the most modern timeline of the Old Republic game. Satele herself was 33 or 34 years old when she gave birth to Theron. They did not tell Jace Malcom that he had a son. This birth was kept secret for a long time. Exactly how Jace found out is something I'm unsure on right now. I'm pretty sure it happened sometime in Theron's novel, and I'm still working through it. I will make a video dedicated to Theron in the future. Satele then went back to the war and aiding the Republic in any way that she could. Near the end of the war, Satele was sent along with the other Jedi such as Aryn Leneer and Nagani Zo to oversee peace talks and the signing of a treaty. This was the same moment Darth Malgus assaulted the temple on Coruscant. Satele herself was in the room where the treaty was being signed. They were informed by their Sith opposition, Lord Barriss, that they held the Republic capital world. Satele had already sensed the betrayal, however, and lunged for Lord Barriss with her sabers. She was, of course, drawn back and calmed down by her supervising master, Darth at the time. The Sith Empire had won the war so flawlessly that they even managed to force Satele Shan to apologize for attacking Barriss before peace talks would continue, which she did the next day. After the treaty was signed, the Jedi were without a temple on Coruscant. While they waited for the Senate's decision on the matter, Satele and the rest of the Jedi Order went on a cleanup mission in important places such as Dantooine. Not too long after, Satele once again encountered Lord Barriss, who gloated over the Empire's victory. They did fight, however a peaceful ending occurred and they both walked away. But not before Barriss told her that she would eventually succumb to the dark side herself, as she was an heir of Revan. Eventually the Senate decided that the Jedi would not be allowed to rebuild on Coruscant, likely because they were now seen as a huge target and no longer wanted to be part of the Jedi's grudge against the Sith. This forced the entire Jedi Order to find a new homeworld. It was possible that they could have just settled in an already existing temple. However, the previous war had only just now come to an end, leaving many places off limits and dangerous to explore, along with the fact that the Sith had only made peace with the Republic. A Cold War still continued between the Sith and Jedi personally. Satele was roughly 46 years old at this time. Through meditation, the Force showed Satele the path through a hyperspace lane that had been long lost in time. This led to Satele rediscovering the original homeworld of the Jedi, Typhon. Believing this was the will of the Force, the Jedi Council agreed to move the Order to Typhon and even promoted Satele to Jedi Master, which was long overdue as Satele was now roughly 48 years old. 7 years later, the Council agreed to make Satele Shan the new Grand Master of the Jedi Order. This was 2 years after the death of the previous Grand Master, who was killed by, and you're not gonna believe this, Braden. Yep, the dude who dies within 5 minutes of playing the bounty hunter story. This guy killed a Jedi Grandmaster. Anyways, Satele goes on to mentor the entire Jedi Order and manage the ongoing Cold War with the Sith. So far in her life, Satele has not been defeated in battle, and has beaten some of the strongest Force users we've ever seen, such as Darth Malgus, and even helping to trap the Emperor of the Sith many years later. Satele even helped in the battle against her ancestor, Revan. Satele resigned as the Order's Grand Master after the Eternal Empire took the galaxy by storm. She did of course fight, but for the first time, she lost, again and again. Because of this, she forced herself into the arms and the will of the Force itself. This led her to Odessen and discovering the spirit of Darth Marr, a former rival and enemy from the Sith Empire. However, after arguing for a time, they both came to a new understanding. You see, both Darth Marr and Satele had been defeated by the Eternal Empire. Now they reflected on what needed to change, and they gave these lessons to the Outlander, who is the player character of the game. Using this knowledge, the player was able to overcome barriers that were holding them back, along with creating a new weapon. After the defeat of the Eternal Empire, Satele returned to the Jedi Order and they accepted her back with open arms. She was now much older and much wiser. She would go on to help mentor a new age of Jedi. Satele later helped trap the Emperor within her own mind, using herself and her students as bait to lure the Emperor in and expose him. We still don't know how Satele knew where to find Scourge and Kira when all of this actually happened, but I think it's a reasonable assumption to say the Force guided her there, as it seems to usually do. Satele was able to trap the Emperor in her own mind, while others, the Emperor's enemies, were able to come together and strike him down, once and for all. Satele was able to confirm that 100% for sure the Emperor is gone and that the weight of his evil had vanished. She also confirms that Revan, Mitra, and the other victims of the Emperor had all become one with the Force. This brings us to the most recent times for Satele. She helped us capture Darth Malgus on Elon and now helps to unfold the plot that surrounds Darth Nul. Satele's end is yet to be seen. Thank you very much for checking out this video. Please consider subscribing or even supporting us on Patreon. Thank you again, and may the Force be with you.
Are we not the greatest warriors in the galaxy? Are we not worthy of forging our own destiny? Then we must fight. First, by destroying our enemy's greatest weapon, our obedience. Shae Vizla, come and face me. Gladly, Tender.
Shae Vizla is a human female Mandalorian. She is renowned and famous within the Old Republic era, where she ultimately became known as Mandalore the Avenger. Shae's story begins with that of the return of the resurgent Sith Empire. In the year of 3681 BBY is when the Sith Empire returned and declared war against the Republic and Jedi. Around this time, Shae was a young teenager. She had already gained some credit and respect as a Mandalorian and a strong warrior. The Mandalorians had allied with the Sith Empire and aided them in their conquest of many worlds. This was a mutually beneficial relationship, as the status of the Mandalorians became galaxy-wide once again. However, the reigning Mandalore of that time was in fact a puppet under control from within the Sith Empire. Shae Vizla herself was of course part of the Vizla clan, a clan she was more than likely born into. Across her many bounties and missions given from the Sith Empire, Shae would have her brother accompany her. The two of them were thick as thieves and as hard as permacrete. Eventually, Shae had managed to assassinate a Republic senator named Koenig. This was a brutal blow to the Republic, so much so that Darth Malgus himself contacted Shae Vizla to personally recruit her for more missions. Shae had helped Malgus with the Battle of Alderaan. It's also suspected that Shae is the person who saved Malgus from underneath the rubble. This is from the scene that we see in the Hope trailer for Star Wars The Old Republic. In the year of 3664 BBY, Shae and her brother were once again sent on a mission. This time they had to sabotage a Republic envoy. However, Shae's brother was killed in this battle by a Jedi Master known as Aura Eden. Her brother's death caused Shae to generate an intense hatred for the Jedi, a hatred that would fuel her actions. She later tried to duel the Jedi Master who killed her brother. However, the Jedi Master refused to fight and Shae was left with no justice. Filled with hate and hunger for revenge, many years later, in 3653 BBY, Darth Malgus gave Shae Vizla an opportunity to strike back, and she accepted. This was the mission for sacking the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. We see the events of this unfold within the CGI trailer named Deceived. But did you know that it was actually Shae Vizla herself who infiltrated the temple and shut down the defense system, not just for the temple, but for the entire planet of Coruscant? This allowed Darth Angral to essentially invade with the full force of the Sith Empire. Without Shae Vizla, this operation would not have been so smooth for the Empire. She was an essential part of the plan. Because of this, Shae became incredibly famous and renowned among Mandalorians and respected by Sith Lords. She would be feared by the Republic and also present on their wanted list. After the sacking of Coruscant and the signing of a peace treaty, Shae Vizla retired her clan from the war and withdrew mostly to the world of Rishi, which was actually located in a system that is close to Tatooine on a galaxy map. Shae Vizla and her clan for the next decade or so were mercenaries for hire that worked behind the scenes, mostly to further the strength of their own clan. The current reigning Mandalore, who actually killed and replaced the last Sith puppet, was named Artus Locke, aka Mandalore the Vindicator. This new Mandalore sought to regroup the clans and re-establish Mandalorian culture and creed among the galaxy. However, ultimately, they would prove to just be another Sith puppet. Mandalore the Vindicator held events such as great hunts and would reward champion bounty hunters. Meanwhile, Shae Vizla was being approached by the main character of the game to join the fight against Revan Reborn. This was in the year of 3637 BBY, which is 16 years after the end of the Great Galactic War. Shae Vizla at this point in time was known by the alias Torch, a nickname that poked fun at the fact that she used a flamethrower. When Shae Vizla discovered that her clan had been unknowingly helping Revan, she cut ties with her associates and found new allies. Despite not wanting to get the clan involved, Shae herself showed up personally in the fight against Revan, proclaiming what kind of Mandalorian would she be if she missed a fight like this. This is probably the first time we see Shae Vizla working alongside the Republic and or any type of Jedi. It's possible that in her older age, she let go some of her past burdens and grudges. Maybe. After winning the battle against Revan and witnessing the return of the Sith Emperor, Shae Vizla withdrew to her clan once again to prepare for the future. 1 year later, the Eternal Raids began. A new faction named Zakul had appeared from nowhere and began raiding the entire Republic and Sith Empire. The Eternal Empire held an astounding victory with every battle. Mandalore the Vindicated had rallied the clans to his side and joined the battle to defend the galaxy from the Eternal Empire. However, Artus Kol was defeated by a swarm of sky troopers, which left the Mandalorian people with no leader and a new grudge against droids. Many Mandalorian clans would not recruit or employ droids after this event. With no leader, the clans were once again divided with no true purpose. However, the Mandalorian people stayed united for the most part and rallied behind Clan Vizla. Shae Vizla was now the most famous Mando in the galaxy, and her people chose her as their new leader. Being given anything in Mandalorian culture can be seen as a taboo, so Shae Vizla was reluctant to accept the position rather than earn it through combat. However, her people and confidants convinced Shae Vizla that she was the only person who could be Mandalore, and then she accepted. Shae Vizla became known as Mandalore the Avenger, the one who would bring vengeance against the Eternal Empire and avenge all those who fell. The morale of those who followed her was boosted 100 times when Shae Vizla's first battle as Mandalore against the Eternal Empire was a victory. It was the first victory they had seen in months. The Mandalorians were ready to fully commit to their new leader. In the year of 3630 BBY, Shae Vizla was contacted by a Republic SIS agent named Shan, who told her that there was an opportunity to assault a Zakuulan weapons factory on Darvanis. This raid and mission was the start of a relationship between the Mandalorians and the faction known as the Alliance. The Mandos had allied themselves with the Alliance and strengthened their foothold against the Eternal Empire. Eventually, when the Outlander and the Alliance overthrew the Eternal Empire and won the war, the Mandalorians once again regrouped and strengthened their power base with strong allies. Shae Vizla had decided to help protect the supply routes in space for a fee from larger factions, which was a much healthier mutually beneficial relationship than past deals. Shae Vizla named her confidant and friend, Jaesa from Clan Order, as her arbiter, a role that allowed Jaesa Order to speak with her voice and authority in all matters of concern to Mandalorians. As the Mandos continued to work protecting trade lanes with the smuggler Hylo Viz, Mandalore found herself under attack on her own flagship, the Spirit of Vengeance 2. The first model was destroyed in the Eternal Raids. Shae Vizla had a second vessel built in honor, which was a far mightier ship. 3 clans named Varad, Ashad, and Darmanda had assaulted the Spirit of Vengeance, which also acted as a portable base of operations for Mandalore. The assault party was led by a rogue Mandalorian named Heta Kol, who had rallied a few other clans to her side. Heta Kol managed to evade Shae Vizla and steal a flag that represented Clan Kadira. Heta Kol escapes the flagship with the Clan Kadira flag. This act in and of itself was a challenge to Shae Vizla. As Mandalore, she was responsible for keeping the clans in line. When one steps out and fights against you, it becomes an open threat, a challenge of power. Because of Mandalorian pride and honor, Shae Vizla takes on this new threat personally. After following some clues given by the Alliance commander and a trail the Darmanda left on Nar Shaddaa, Shae was able to uncover herself that Heta Kol was residing on the world of Runuk. She hesitated to go in alone against an entire army of Mandalorians, so she opted to ask the Alliance commander for help on Odessen. After they agree, together they return to Runuk and they take to causing small amounts of trouble to bring Heta Kol out of hiding. Eventually, the two of them meet face to face and they agree to a 1 versus 1 duel. Heta Kol's Mandalorian network was known as the Hidden Chain collectively. Before Heta and Shae duel in 1 versus 1 combat, Heta gives a speech and reveals that her parents were members of a former Mandalorian group that allied with the Republic and tried to remove Mandalore the Vindicated from his position. This past clan was led by Jacoln Kadira, who was ultimately killed by a bounty hunter. They sought to remove the corruption of the Empire from within Mandalorian ranks, yet they had all failed and paid a price for it. Heta Kol's whole message is that she believes the Mandalorians who follow Shae Vizla are actually slaves to the Alliance and or Republic, or Empire, depending on what choices have been made in the game. For now, we can stick with the Alliance. Heta wants to remove all outsider loyalty and re-establish Mandalorian independence and authority. The speech she gives is actually quite convincing. Next, Shae and Heta Kol finally duel each other. They even use ceremonial Beskar blades. A third party does interfere with the duel, but this can be manipulated. Either way, she seemingly wins the duel. However, it was ultimately cut short as Shae Vizla's forces had joined and reinforced the battle. Once again, Heta Kol escapes and her mystery remains in shadows here. Shae Vizla regroups with her people once again. Having proved she was capable of defeating Heta Kol, her people embraced her and readied for the next battle. The conclusion of this story is yet to climax, and the fate of Mandalore the Avenger is yet to be seen. Thank you all for watching this video. Please consider subscribing as it really does help support the channel. Thank you once again, and may the Force be with you.
flesh of my flesh. I have felt something in you since the day we met. In my time, there were mystical movements among the Sith that sought to communicate with ghosts and harness their power. It's a source of great power, but it has destroyed many a Sith. Seek this knowledge.
Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, power. Through power, victory. Swear, if you don't silence Thanaton, I will. I will not be betrayed. I will not die. And when I've killed this slave, you will all answer for it. The Kagath is a playground game. Murder has no rules.
It was once a glorious name. Use it well.
Slaves of the Sith Empire were known to be worked to death, tied down to an unforgiving society that would discriminate and categorize by race and species. The alien race known as Twi'leks had suffered the most under this cruel and relentless doctrine. However, the Force can touch any being, even a slave, and those who are touched by the Force are destined for great things. Around the year of 3643 BBY, a Force-sensitive slave was sent to the world of Korriban to be trained in the ways of the dark side. Slaves who arrived to Korriban were treated with just as much disdain as everywhere else in the Empire. An overseer named Harkon was to supervise the slaves' trials at the Sith Academy. They were placed into a group of aspiring acolytes who were also likely slaves beforehand. However, one of the individuals in this group was a Sith pureblood named Thon. Overseer Harkon's attitude made it clear he favoured the pure-blooded Sith over the slaves in the group.
Meet our newcomer, Thon Alt. This is real Sith strength, and he will tear you apart and crush your bones, slaves.
Our slave's first trial was to visit the Sith hermit known as Spindrel, from within the depths of the tomb of Ajunta Paul. Spindrel's role on Korriban was to test the basic strength of new arrivals. If they passed a simple test of combat, they would progress. If they failed, they would be cast aside and exiled, perhaps even killed. Failed apprentices and acolytes could often be found roaming the tombs of the Valley of the Dark Lords. Our slave acolyte passed their trial and returned to the overseer for further instruction. After being berated and insulted more by the overseer, our acolyte reports to Inquisitor Zin for their next trial. This time the acolyte's interrogation skills would be tested. They had to interrogate a real prisoner and former acolyte for information about an unauthorized murder within the temple. After discovering the truth, Inquisitor Zin explains that the perpetrator is in fact an apprentice to a Dark Council member, meaning no further action would be taken, as the Dark Council was the highest authority in the Empire and not to be challenged by lower-ranking Sith. With Inquisitor Zin's approval, the acolyte returned to Overseer Harkon for their next trial. A trial of intellect was next for the acolyte. However, their task was set to be difficult. Overseer Harkon had instructed the acolyte to venture into the tomb of Marker Ragnos and retrieve an artifact that had been locked away for thousands of years. No Sith has managed to break the lock so far, and our acolyte did not have much hope for being the first. Yet our acolyte had a great future ahead of them. The force was incredibly strong in the Acolytes, almost as if it was in their blood to be Sith. The Acolyte throws lightning at the locked artifact in frustration. However, this act turned out to be the magical key. The artifact revealed itself and the Acolyte was successful with their trial. When returning to the Overseer, he accuses the Acolyte of bringing back a fake. This artifact was given to a Sith Lord named Zash. Lord Zash would be recruiting a new apprentice from Overseer Harkon's group, and he was in favour of Thon winning the role. With just 4 Acolytes remaining, Harkon sends each Acolyte on their own unique trial. Our slave Acolyte is once again sent to the tombs within the Valley of the Dark Lords, this time to find and retrieve ancient text authored by none other than Tulak Hord himself. After a plentiful amount of time, the Acolyte finds the texts and brings them back to the Overseer. Despite being sent on dangerous trial after dangerous trial, the Overseer is amazed to see the slave Acolyte still thriving. The Overseer wanted Thon to be selected as Zash's apprentice, so the Overseer struck a deal with the other 2 remaining Acolytes. If they ambush and kill the slave Acolyte, they will be rewarded with going home to their families. Interfering with the trials on Korriban was forbidden. Just before returning to the Overseer, our Acolyte stumbles into and meets Lord Zash. She explains that she has high hopes for the Acolyte who retrieved Marka Ragnars's artifact. After successfully retrieving the text of Tulak Hord, the slave Acolyte is sent for another trial upstairs within the Academy walls. They were set to train underneath a combat master to learn combat basics. However, this was a ploy by Overseer Harkon to kill the Acolyte. The 2 Acolytes Harkon struck a deal with ambushed our slave Acolyte in the training room. Unfortunately for them, they were no match for our Acolyte as they died trying to win their freedom. Upon returning to the Overseer from the ambush, Overseer Harkon once again berates our Acolyte and verbally abuses them. Harkon then explains that the final trial will take place within the tomb of Naga Sadow. There the Acolyte must breach an entrance and awaken a deadly assassin from their slumber, known as a Dashade. This Dashade would then lead the Acolyte to a star map that Lord Zash herself wanted personally. Before setting off for the final trial, Lord Zash enters the room with new information. However, the Overseer had sent Thon earlier into the tombs to give him an head start advantage. As it would turn out, the text our slave Acolyte retrieved from Tulak Hord's tomb had explained that to get inside Naga Sadow's locked room, you would need 4 ancient rods. Seeing as Thon wasn't there to hear the information, it was likely he would fail the trial. At this point in time, Zash realizes that Harkon had been tampering with her group. She then proceeds to scold him and tell him to no longer interfere. With all the information fresh in the mind, the slave Acolyte sets off for their final trial. Once the 4 ancient rods were located and placed onto the correct podium, the secret entrance to the Dashade would unlock. When the Acolyte gets inside, they must explain to the Dashade that their former master is dead, which causes the monster to attack. After defeating the Dashade in battle, they yield and surrender their services to the Acolyte, obeying their every command. The Acolyte is able to find the star map hidden within the tomb with the help of the Dashade. With the trial a complete success, the Acolyte returns to the Sith Academy. Upon arrival to Harkon's office, it became clear that Thon had failed the trial. Both Harkon and Thon were debating as our slave Acolyte and Dashade waltz into the office. Harkon once again berates the Acolyte and even snatches the map away from them. Harkon then gives the map to Thon. Before the slave Acolyte or anyone else can react, Lord Zash walks into the room to see the outcome of the trial. Thon and Harkon both were acting shady, and Zash could sense it. Thon hands Lord Zash the map, but she decides to interrogate him on who it was that retrieved it from the tomb. Zash quickly figured out that Harkon had once again interfered with the trials. Zash's reaction was to shower the Acolyte Thon with a deadly spray of force lightning. blistered and charred, the arrogant whelp died and was left to smoulder in the office. The slave acolyte was then instructed to follow Lord Zash to her chamber. Before they leave though, Overseer Harkon dishes out a warning that their feud isn't over and that he knows people all around the Empire. Our slave acolyte had been victorious on Korriban, successfully completing all trials and even achieving goals Sith millennia past could not manage. A true Sith prodigy, the acolyte becomes an apprentice. Our apprentice reports to Lord Zash, after which they are rewarded with their first lightsaber. The apprentice didn't know it yet, but the moment they held the lightsaber for the first time, their ancient ancestor, a ghost wandering the walls of the Dark Temple on Dromund Kars, had sensed the apprentice's presence. A legacy had awoken. Lord Zash instructs her new apprentice to meet her on Dromund Kars, the Sith citadel and capital. There they could talk more privately and away from the ears of those who would seek to betray. Before being able to leave the world though, our new apprentice is ambushed within the academy walls. 2 Sith apprentices belonging to a Sith Lord named Darth Nul had been sent to deliver a message to Zash's new apprentice. Darth Nul is a high-ranking Sith Lord who resides on Dromund Kars. He is also a known rival to Zash. The message they had delivered was,
"You will not go to Dromund Kars."
However, despite all the bravado, our apprentice survives unscathed, albeit slightly annoyed by the occasion. When the apprentice makes their way to Dromund Kars to meet with Lord Zash, they bump into Darth Nul himself, along with his 2 Trandoshan bodyguards, directly at the spaceport. Darth Nul repeats his message in person, along with a warning to the apprentice about serving underneath Zash. Darth Nul is under the impression he knows Zash's secret and is waiting for a chance to expose her. When the apprentice brings this information to their master, she decides it's in her best interests to finally kill Darth Nul. However, she would not be committing the act personally. Killing Darth Nul would require a tremendous amount of cunning and deception. The first part of the plan was to investigate an area known as the Unfinished Colossus, to recover archaeological blueprints of the structure. The blueprints would explain where Darth Nul's hidden sanctum was. Zash knew it would be in this area. After succeeding in the first few steps, our apprentice storms into Darth Nul's stronghold and steals an ancient Trandoshan relic. This alien relic would give the apprentice control over Darth Nul's bodyguards when presenting it to them. Part 1 of the plan was successful. After reporting back to Lord Zash, our apprentice is further instructed to meet with one of Zash's spies held up in Lord Graffin's estate to the southwest. This spy would deliver information on a device that could help inhibit Darth Nul, weakening him a great deal. This device was called a cyber neutralizer and was capable of causing malfunction in droids or even cyborgs. Darth Nul was heavily implanted with cyborg technology, and this neutralizer would also affect him. The apprentice once again infiltrates another Sith stronghold. This time, it's Lord Graffin's stronghold, and our apprentice is looking for the device. Once it's retrieved, it became time to strike against Darth Nul. Lord Zash had commanded her apprentice to be the one to kill Darth Nul. This was because if she had done it, she would have been punished by higher-ranking Sith members. However, if a mere apprentice kills a Darth, no one would believe it, and there wouldn't be any evidence to tie Zash to the scene, as she would be present at a party during the act, all planned. Zash sends her apprentice to confront Darth Nul in his office, not too far away. When facing him, the apprentice reveals the Trandoshan relic, and can then decide to have them attack Darth Nul or withdraw completely. The relic gave the apprentice complete control over the bodyguards. Either way, this would be done in vain, as Darth Nul will lash out against his guards anyways. The apprentice must use the cyber neutralizer to weaken Darth Nul and win their duel, of which they are successful. Zash's plan had worked. Darth Nul had threatened them both, and now he was dead. But what was the secret he spoke of? For now, this would remain a mystery, with Darth Scotia dead and Imperial authorities none the wiser to who did it. Zash and her apprentice move on to their next interest. Zash had now inherited Darth Scotia's position. She even became a Darth and was given a meeting with Darth Thanaton. However, Thanaton would prove to dislike Zash. He did not approve of Zash's un-Sith-like behaviour. She seemed to excel too quick. It was becoming apparent to the apprentice that Lord Zash did not have a great deal of friends. After meeting Zash in her new chambers, and now as a Darth, she instructs her apprentice to investigate the Dark Temple. She talks about a ghost that lingers within the tomb, enraged and enthralled. Zash needs to explore this tomb, but she cannot while the ghost is present. It's the task of the apprentice to enter the Dark Temple, investigate the tomb, and pacify the ghost. This kind of task was very unusual to be given to someone so early in their training. However, Zash had explained that she had a dream through the Force, that she had seen her new apprentice help achieve her goals. Zash buttered her apprentice up with the premise of a prophecy. Within the tomb lied a relic of Tulak Horde, a relic that Zash had been led to thanks to all the information acquired back at the trials on Korriban. The apprentice's task was clear: enter the temple, pacify the ghost, and retrieve the artifact. Yet when the apprentice meets this ghost face to face, their destiny would ignite. As fate would have it, the ghost explains to the apprentice that they are related by blood. The ghost was an ancient Sith Lord known as Lord Calig, who lived during the reign of Tulak Horde. Here within the tomb, he guarded an artifact that he took from Tulak Horde, the same artifact Lord Zash had been searching for. The apprentice is dumbfounded to say the least, learning that their ancestor was a Grand Sith Lord. Calig explains that his death brought shame upon his legacy, therefore it was Calig's fault that his family name was erased and his children's children became slaves, just like our apprentice. Lord Calig is distressed to learn that his failures have affected his legacy for this long, but now things would change. Calig believed that the apprentice who stood before him would ascend within the Sith Empire and one day rule over it. The apprentice remains skeptical of the ghost's intentions, but has no reason to believe it is lying right now. Lord Calig allows his newfound heir to take the artifact of Tulak Horde. However, he also offers a warning. He does not know what the artifact use is, but he does know that betrayal follows it everywhere. The ghost implies that Lord Zash would betray them and that they should be cautious moving forward. For now, the ghost departs with its future intentions unclear, but the task for our apprentice was to return to Lord Zash and deliver the artifact. Zash is incredibly impressed to see her new apprentice still alive. She is eager to see the artifact and to continue with their search for more, knowing her apprentice was increasingly competent. Zash begins to tell her apprentice of an ancient ritual she had discovered from Tulak Horde's writings. She further explained that she would be performing this ritual on her apprentice to increase their power. The warning the ghost had offered began to eat at the apprentice's mind, but there was no way to challenge Zash on this, so right now they had no choice but to obey and hope she was telling the truth. Zash had discovered that Tulak Horde had hidden an ancient Sith ritual via the use of several artifacts. The first artifact is the one found within the Dark Temple, and 4 more are located on the worlds of Balmorra, Nar Shaddaa, Tatooine, and Alderaan. The 5 artifacts seem to come in the form of a datachron. Zash instructs her apprentice to visit each of these worlds and recover all the artifacts. With them all combined for the ritual, great power was promised. When arriving to the world of Balmorra, which is actually one of the core worlds, our apprentice is able to seize many fresh opportunities for gaining new Imperial contacts. Balmorra is under Imperial control, but the resistance is high, and the Republic have set up their own defenses too. So aiding the Empire in smaller tasks while hunting down the artifact went easily hand in hand. It doesn't take long for the apprentice to discover the artifact hidden inside an ancient chamber that was infested with deadly and toxic colicoids. It would seem that the artifact's presence may have affected the area in which it resided, and possibly even affected the colicoids. Taking the artifact from the stone podium took a tremendous amount of power. Darth Zash was most pleased with her apprentice's success on Balmorra. She instructs the apprentice to next go to Nar Shaddaa. Another artifact is to be found here. While dispatched to Nar Shaddaa, the apprentice makes contact with a cult of organised crime. The apprentice was following small leads of information that would eventually lead them to the artifact they needed. Also present on the world of Nar Shaddaa was a Sith pureblood known as Lord Palladius. This Sith Lord had established a small power base on Nar Shaddaa and did not appreciate our apprentice snooping around and potentially becoming a rival. After aiding the cult members and many murders of the scum of Nar Shaddaa, the apprentice is able to convince the people that they are more powerful than Lord Palladius. This was mostly due to a public demonstration of power.
What kind of power is this? The world is ending!
Don't be fooled! It's a trick!
Eventually, the apprentice and Palladius meet face to face, which was convenient because, as it turns out, Palladius had the artifact in his possession. This meant the apprentice could kill Palladius and take the artifact all in one evening. However, when greeted by Lord Palladius, the Sith Lord was able to weaken the apprentice and brazenly claim that he had severed their connection to the Force. Whether or not this was a bluff, it did not matter. The apprentice was increasingly more powerful each day, and today they would not fall. After a brief lightsaber duel, the apprentice claims victory with their Force connection still intact. The apprentice may choose to let Palladius live and lead the cult in their name, or they can choose to kill him for his discretions. Either way, the apprentice takes the artifact and returns to their starship to report back to Darth Zash of their success yet again. After reporting back to Zash, the ancestor of our apprentice once again appears. Lord Calig appears on the starship to warn their descendant of a threat of betrayal. Darth Zash had been visiting the tomb within the Dark Temple, which the ghost believed was because she was preparing the area for the upcoming ritual. However, Calig senses a great betrayal and must deliver his warning, so his legacy may be prepared to endure. To help strengthen their resolve and power, Calig tells the apprentice the location of his mask, an item that should be worn by one of the Calig bloodline. When the ghost disappears, the apprentice decides to entrust what his ancestor is saying and seek out the mask. Located on Korriban, the mask was currently being worn by a Sith Lord named Crucis. Clearly, the mask had been found a long time ago by people who did not deserve or were worthy of claiming it. After a brief conversation and some aggressive negotiations, the Sith Lord surrendered the mask and it was returned to its rightful owner and bloodline. The apprentice may choose to wear the mask and represent their ancestors' iconic armor of the ancients. With Calig's helmet in hand, and 3 artifacts in total found, there was only 2 more to find before the ritual Zash spoke of could be performed. The next location was the scorching world of Tatooine. Here the apprentice was due to meet a pirate named Andronicus Revel, a contact Darth Zash knew herself. This pirate would aid the apprentice on their task, all while settling their own personal score with an old friend. After surviving this treacherous world, the apprentice was finally led to the artifact out in the Dune Sea. a somewhat easy recovery compared to the previous worlds visited so far. Andronicus asks the apprentice if they can join their crew aboard the starship, which means that the apprentice now has 2 companions, 3 if you include the droid that came with the ship. The apprentice reported back to Darth Zash as per routine and was redirected to the world of Alderaan to find the next and final artifact. Alderaan is a lush and beautiful world filled with tall trees and awe-striking mountains. However, the noble houses of Alderaan were, as per usual, squabbling. Conflict between houses was fueled even more so by the ongoing galactic war. After reaching out to contacts within the noble houses that Darth Zash had preemptively arranged, the apprentice was able to discover that the artifact was being guarded by a Jedi. This Jedi's name was Nomar Organa. Apparently, the dark side artifact had been passed down from this Jedi's family over the generations, each era charged with its protection to keep it from the hands of evil. Evil had arrived. The apprentice was able to confront and defeat this Jedi and then locate the artifact, which was being held atop a great Elysium that rose from the ground hundreds of meters. After infiltrating the site and slaying many Jedi, the artifact was found and taken. Once the apprentice returned with the final artifact on their starship, Darth Zash contacts them via holo. She explains that she is preparing things for the ritual and that her apprentice should meet with her here. However, when the apprentice travels through hyperspace and arrives at the world's atmosphere, the holo communicator calls again, except this time it would be Darth Thanaton on the line. Thanaton introduces himself formally and then proceeds to insult the apprentice about their slave heritage, something that many Sith will likely drag into conversation. It was an easy insult against an alien who dared to become Sith. Thanaton explains that Lord Zash is not present on the world. He further explained that he knew what she and the apprentice were up to. However, he was choosing to let things play out, as he was curious about the apprentice and what they will do. Whether or not Thanaton really knew what was happening is unclear. What was clear is that he wanted to watch Darth Zash self-destruct, which was a curious statement. Before the call ended, Thanaton also warned the apprentice about being caught in the blast, as it would seem Darth Zash had a lot of red flags, as far as being a master to study under is concerned. When Thanaton ends the communication, the ghost of Calig appears once again.
My child, your power has grown since we last met. Your strength will rise and shake the Sith. I feel it.
Calig appears once more to warn his descendants of his master's betrayal yet again. The ghost had identified Zash's ritual that she was preparing, and he recognized it as a dangerous ancient magic, one capable of shielding a person from the Force. This didn't match up with what Zash said before, so the dots started to connect themselves. The apprentice was 99% sure that their master, Darth Zash, would betray them in some way with this ritual. It was important for the apprentice to prepare for the battle to come, so Lord Calig directs them to a new mission, to find Calig's lightsaber, which is now a family heirloom that belongs to the apprentice. They must go to Nar Shaddaa once again to retrieve an item that will strengthen the legacy's resolve further. Once the lightsaber was acquired from some pathetic gambler, the apprentice makes their way for Darth Zash. The confrontation must happen, and the apprentice must overcome. Once again, the ghost of Calig appears to offer some final words of wisdom before the confrontation begins. It's advised that the apprentice does not go alone, so they decide to take the Dashade with them, as they are a powerful companion. Darth Zash contacts her apprentice via holo to alert them that the ritual is prepared, and she awaits their arrival at the Dark Temple on Dromund Kars. With great haste, the apprentice arrives, with Khem Val at their side. As they enter the room, a cold and dark embrace is apparent. Dark magics are at work here. Darth Zash stood at the top of the stairs that would lead to the tomb's podium, her back turned to the apprentice. Her voice was withered, aged. All the artifacts were in place and the ritual would soon begin. Darth Zash reveals her true face, her true identity, an old and haggard woman. A walking corpse could be more accurate. Zash had planned to find a new body to live in. Her urn was destroyed. Zash's true age is unknown, but it became clear that she had been working her way up through the Sith hierarchy so she could go about her business unquestioned. She had been keen on the apprentice's body from the moment she first laid eyes on them. She had manipulated the apprentice into believing they were part of her dreams and visions. Yet the apprentice came prepared, and when Zash striked, the apprentice reacted and was able to defeat Zash in combat. In a last desperate attempt to live on, Zash activates the ritual and attempts to swap bodies with her former apprentice, but the Dashade had jumped in to intervene, and Zash's ritual took effect on her and the beast. Zash's consciousness had been thrown into the Dashade. There she would be trapped for a long time, forced to watch her apprentice through the eyes of the monster rise in the Sith and not be able to do anything about it. Darth Zash was essentially no more. If you want to find out more information about what happened next with the Dashade and Darth Zash, then be sure to check out this video here. The Explained playlist grows stronger. After the defeat of Darth Zash, the apprentice was contacted by Darth Thanaton, who declared that the apprentice was now a Sith Lord. This was because Zash is now dead and her apprentice is set to inherit her position. Usually when you kill a Darth, you become a Darth yourself. Yet because this apprentice, now a Sith Lord, is an alien, they are being subject to discrimination. Therefore the promotion to Sith Lord was really the least they could have done. Thanaton tells our Sith Lord that if they want to progress with the Sith, then they should meet in person at the tomb of a Dark Lord named Darth Andrew. When arriving, Thanaton explains to our Sith Lord that they must retrieve an item from the tomb to earn his favour. He seemed to be quite friendly, however his intentions were deceitful. Our Sith Lord had headed into the tomb completely unaware that the ghost of Darth Andrew kills all who enter. This tomb is where Thanaton sends people he wants to die. Fortunately for our Sith Lord, his ancestor Lord Calig appears in time to save them from certain doom. Lord Calig begins to scold the Sith Lord about being the last of his name. Caution and patience should be exercised and controlled. Calig explains that Thanaton had also intended to betray them, of course. He also reveals an ancient force power, one lost over generations. The power to force walk is the ability of consuming force-imbued ghosts to absorb and wield their power. It's an ancient art that had previously destroyed many Sith Lords. It would take time and skill to master, but first, learning the ability was more important. Calig tells his descendant that using this power to absorb ghosts, our Sith Lord could reshape the Sith Order in any way they see fit. They would even be strong enough to kill Thanaton for his betrayal. Calig further reveals the location of another tomb, the tomb of another Dark Lord past by the name of Ergast. This former Dark Lord is one of the ancient Darkside users who were able to use this power, force walking. After a trial that involved drinking poison, the ghost of Ergast teaches the Sith Lord how to force walk and then challenges them to a confrontation. Using the new power of force walking, the Sith Lord must absorb Ergast or forever be stuck in the tomb. The Sith Lord channels their dark energy and creates a manifestation of purple smoke and lightning. They were able to successfully absorb the ghost and inherit their power. The voice of the ghost could be heard within the Sith Lord's mind. It would be there for as long as they decided to keep it. No other rules were mentioned. Without too much pause, the Sith Lord makes their way back to the tomb of Darth Andrew, where they confront them and take them by force for another increase in power. However, the power was clearly a lot, and it took all the Sith Lord had to offer to maintain their composure. With the ghost pacified, our Sith Lord would be free to return to Thanaton with the requested item in hand. Failure was never an option. When the Sith Lord was able to meet up with Thanaton, they quickly discovered that Thanaton wanted them dead anyways. The Darth had personally attempted to kill our Sith Lord by enveloping them with lightning and leaving them for dead on the floor. But our Sith Lord was able to endure, and they survived the encounter. Had they not taken the power from the two ghosts, then right now they would be dead. Thanaton had actually killed the Sith Lord, but the presence of the ghosts kept them alive. This ancient technique was proving to be worth it. After this incursion, the Sith Lord regroups on their starship with the crew and comes up with a plan of action. The plan was to hunt down the most powerful ghosts in the galaxy, find them and strike revenge against Thanaton, and once again ascend within the Sith. One of Zash's former informants had reported that the Jedi were investigating a ghost presence on the world of Taris. Since the plan was to find more ghosts, that's where they headed. When investigating the surface, the Sith Lord discovers the Jedi had a Padawan named Shae Zavros, who is allegedly related to the ghost that they are investigating here on Taris. The problem for the Jedi, though, is the ghost is an ancient Sith Lord named Kalatosh Zavros. The ghost refused to speak with Jedi. The Padawan Ashara had a connection to them and was able to summon them. When our Sith Lord learned this information, they made it priority number 1 to find this Padawan and either corrupt them to the dark side or force them into servitude and submission. After locating the Padawan, the Sith Lord sets up a ploy to gain their trust via defending the Padawan against the Empire. This showed Ashara that the Sith Lord meant no harm. After a brief conversation with the Padawan, the Sith Lord convinces her to summon the ghost so they may put it to rest. What they actually meant was absorb it, of course. When the Sith Lord meets with the Padawan at the haunted ruins, her Jedi Master was present. Our Sith Lord can choose to kill them or choose not to fight. If they choose not to fight, then the Jedi attack first, which shows the Padawan Ashara that the Jedi don't always practice peace. Once the Jedi Master's pitiful attempt concluded, our Sith Lord reacted by charring their fairy corpse with lethal force lightning. As agreed, Ashara summons the ghost and the Sith Lord springs into action. The ghost attempted to resist, but the Sith Lord had become incredibly powerful, making the ghost's attempts futile. The Sith Lord had managed to calm the ghost and then take it by force for yet another increase in power. Amazed at the display, Ashara explains that she would like to follow the Sith Lord and join the crew. She can be forced to do so, but will choose to come along if the Sith Lord has a neutral or light side alignment. Would you like to see an Ashara Zavros Explained video? Let me know in the comments. After absorbing the ghost known as Kalatosh Zavros, our Sith Lord must rush to the world of Quesh to aid their allies. When Darth Zash was defeated, the Sith Lord inherited all her information and possessions, along with her other apprentices, named Karl and Corrin. These apprentices were under threat on Quesh, and it was the Sith Lord's duty to defend them. Thanaton had sent a Sith Lord known as Cineratus to kill Karl and Corrin and deliver a damaging blow to our Sith Lord's reputation. They can choose to bribe this Lord Cineratus so he stops working for Thanaton, or they can just kill him. Our Sith Lord must replace what has been lost, otherwise they risk looking even weaker to the eyes of the other Sith. So the Sith Lord heads for Korriban, where a new group of acolytes has arrived to face the trials. This meant once again having to speak with Overseer Harkon, except this time the Sith Lord is Harkon's superior in rank and power. The Overseer can't help but choke on his bitterness, as he has to obey every wish and command made by the Sith Lord, who he used to call slave. The Sith Lord checks out this new group and can see one of them has great potential, a Kalish by the name of Zalek. Once all of the trials were complete, the Sith Lord could come back and claim their new apprentice. And now, they returned to their starship and began to plan for the next ghost hunt. Andronicus Revel had heard rumours of a starship carrying Sith artifacts from Yavin 4 crash landing on the surface of Hoth about a year ago. Since then, the local people have been whispering rumours of odd behaviour and happenings. After confirming that it was indeed Sith artifacts on board the ship, the crew decide to go looking for it in hopes of finding a new ghost to bind among the ancient relics. After recruiting a new companion to their cause by the name of Talos Drellic, they were able to find more clues that would lead them to the location of the downed wreckage. Talos Drellic was an Imperial loyalist, but their true passions lied with history and archaeological findings, especially those of dark side interest. Eventually, our Sith Lord is able to commune with an ancient Force spirit, an ancient Sith Lord from a time long past, Horak Mul. This ancient Dark Lord had been possessing people, creatures, and even droids from beyond the grave, giving truth to the odd rumours about the surface of Hoth. This Force spirit was seeking revenge against Naga Sadow's servants, whose tombs were built on Hoth. Clearly, Horak Mul and Naga Sadow did not see eye to eye. When the Sith Lord deals with the spirit's request of vandalism in the tombs, they meet face to face. Our Sith Lord can convince Horak Mul to join them in being bound, or they can simply take him by force. With the spirit and power of Horak Mul now bound, that gives our Sith Lord a staggering count of 4 ancient Dark Lord spirits residing within them, surrendering their power at a whim. Now was the time to strike against Thanaton and kill him. The crew and our Sith Lord make their way for Drummond Cars, which is where Thanaton is situated. They storm into his dark chambers, but Thanaton is already there waiting for them. After a quick lightsaber duel with Thanaton's apprentices, our Sith Lord demonstrates their grand power in full for the first time. However, things take a turn for the worst when the ghosts begin to rebel. They grow tired of being used and treat like dirt. Not only that, but the Dark Lord Ergast had only just now revealed that any Sith who binds more than one ghost would be doomed to lose control. Our Sith Lord blacks out during the confrontation.
Must stop this nonsense now.
Don't let him talk to you like that. He's a treacherous snake. Cut out his fangs. Careful now. Don't lose control.
I warned you my ritual was dangerous. I warned you it was not for the weak, but you drank the poison.
After some time, they wake up and are updated on the situation by the crew. Absorbing so many ghosts has damaged the Sith Lord's mind and body. It was of critical importance that they find a way to stay alive and heal. After returning to the ship, the crew was able to find information about a previous Dark Lord who had a similar issue. This previous Dark Lord had so much power that their body began to deteriorate over time. It's rumoured that they went to Belsavis in an attempt to find an ancient Rakatan technology that would remake them. With the details unclear and vague, the Sith Lord decides to investigate on the world of Belsavis. Eventually, they are led to a device deep within the world's caverns, where a hollow AI of a Rakatan alien was found. Its name was Mother. This AI informed the Sith Lord that her machine could heal them and remake them. It's implied that this machine had something to do with the creation of the Zabrak, Rataki, and other species of alien. However, the machine could not fix the Sith Lord's mind, and therefore they would be needing to look elsewhere to fix that problem. Once the ancient Rakatan machine worked its magics, our Sith Lord's body was able to now fully enjoy the power of the ghosts. therefore presenting no more problems. Now that the body was healed, the mind was next. The ghosts were bound to the Sith Lord, but their mind had to be strong enough to control them all at once. Right now, our Sith Lord cannot use the ghost's power. The crew discovers another rumor that explains that Darth Nul had once heard voices in their head and came to the world of Voss for a healing ritual that cured them. With this new information, the Sith Lord quickly heads for the world of Voss. After arriving, they ask questions about this healing ritual, which leads the Sith Lord down an unforgiving journey. They must face the ghosts in different trials and overcome them from within. After allying with one of the Voss visionaries, our Sith Lord was finally able to access a healing ritual that did indeed strengthen and heal the mind. This meant that the Sith Lord could now fully control the ghosts and even summon their dark power once again. However, bad news arrived just before the Voss expedition. Darth Thanaton has become a Dark Council member after succeeding his master. This now meant our Sith Lord was caught in a feud with one of the most influential Sith of their time. Not good, yet they did not let this affect their resolve. It was imperative to continue, and building a power base was next on the agenda. The Sith Lord spends some time collecting their apprentice, which indeed turned out to be Zalek.
I like his style.
They also network with Imperial Moths, who help to connect the Sith Lord with more powerful allies. A power base was forming. Even the cult on Nar Shaddaa was thriving after another brief visit to maintain business. With most agendas pretty much ticked off the list, it was finally time to strike out again at Thanaton. Currently, Thanaton was on the world of Corellia, which is where the warfighting was most intense. The Sith Lord makes their way there to start assaulting Thanaton's power base, to weaken his public image and draw him out into a confrontation. Thanaton knew full well that our Sith Lord had become incredibly powerful, and wanted to avoid a direct confrontation right now. Despite that, Thanaton decides to broadcast a public message to the Sith Lord. A challenge to Kagath. The Kagath is an old tradition within the Sith. If you were challenged, it meant another Sith Lord pretty much wants to go to war with you. Power base versus power base, until one emerges victorious. With the challenge made public, our Sith Lord must accept and begin the challenge on Corellia. After dealing blows to each other on the world, the time to meet must finally come again. However, when Thanaton faces our Sith Lord, he chooses not to attack, but simply allow his allies to fight for him. It did not take long for Thanaton to realize he was in danger, as when it was his turn to attack, he had to fight for his life. Thanaton was able to escape the situation, but this was a public embarrassment. He wasn't able to fight off a mere Sith Lord who had once been a slave. The disgrace would be irreparable. In a surprising move, Thanaton decides to summon the Dark Council on Korriban to discuss his situation with the Sith Lord. However, things did not go in his favour. Our Sith Lord was able to follow Darth Thanaton to Korriban and burst into the Dark Council chambers during session. This was a crime, but the Sith Lord had business with Thanaton and the Kagath could not be withdrawn. Seeing as Thanaton fled Corellia, this should mean he loses. Yet here he is in the Dark Council chambers begging for help.
If we are to conquer our enemies, Zash's former apprentice must die.
At last, with all ghosts under full control, our Sith Lord defeats Thanaton and ascends to his position on the Dark Council, knighted a Darth of the Sith by the absolute monster that is Darth Marr himself. Our Darth can take one of three names: Nox, Imperius, Oclus. Each represent a different alignment to the Force. Along with the title, our Darth is promoted to head of the Ancient Pyramid of Knowledge, a prestigious position, perhaps the one that Lord Calic foresaw. What was clear now is that this Sith Inquisitor is the most powerful Sith, second to just the Emperor himself. Even the Emperor's wrath would think twice before approaching this Dark Lord. The newly titled Darth may choose to let the ghosts leave and be free, or they can choose to keep them bound forever, gorging on their power. Either way, the legacy of Calig endures, and the legacy of slavery is avenged.
Peace is a lie. There is only passion.
I am beside myself. Not only did you get the Twi'lek to cooperate, but you completed the task and claimed the ancient lightsaber.
Through passion, I gain strength.
I see you may indeed become one of the strongest Sith in the galaxy.
Through strength, power.
This is only the beginning. With you as my right hand, we shall strike fear into the Empire's enemies.
Be warned. One of your own plots to betray you.
The Emperor tasks the Hand with a great undertaking, and you are to become his wrath.
What does that have to do with me?
You have been called. You have done well, my wrath.
The hinges are gone from the door.
You must express the Emperor's will.
Unleash the Emperor's wrath.
Can you feel your grip on life slipping? Why persist in this futile gesture of vengeance? Let go. Embrace your death.
Through power, victory. Through victory, my chains are broken.
I was never, nor shall I ever be, your slave.
Ranking from birth among the most elite in the Sith Empire, the Sith warriors' deadly skills and command of the dark side of the Force have become legendary across the galaxy. This tale begins around the year of 3640 BBY, when a pure-blooded Sith who had great potential was sent to Korriban to be trained in the ways of the dark side. It was Imperial law that all Force-sensitive children were to be trained during the war, a tradition that seemingly continued even after the Treaty of Coruscant. However, for a pure-blooded Sith, it was your obligation to train. A pureblood who is not Force-sensitive is a pureblood that is cast aside. When this aspiring acolyte reaches Korriban, they are greeted by an Academy Overseer named Tremel. This Overseer was responsible for tasking the acolyte with trials and assessing their potential. Unlike other acolytes of the Academy, who are commonly aliens, slaves or both, the warrior acolyte was favoritized because of their high-ranking birth in Imperial civilization. This meant the acolyte had more personal training sessions with Overseer Tremel. Other acolytes were banded together in groups and had to compete for a position. The first trial for the acolyte was to enter the tomb of Ajunta Paul and retrieve a Sith Warblade. This would be their weapon of choice until they were ready for a lightsaber. Upon arrival to the Korriban Academy itself, the acolyte was cornered by other students who were jealous of the attention and shortcuts granted to the acolyte. In reality, Overseer Tremel was the type of Imperial who preferred clean blood, which basically meant he preferred acolytes who descended from the true Sith Empire and not aliens or slaves. The next trial for the acolyte was to interrogate a group of individuals who were incarcerated at the prison block. This is where the acolyte meets their future companion, Vet. Vet is a female Twi'lek who had been captured and enslaved by the Empire. After interrogating the prisoners, the acolyte returns to Overseer Tremel to retrieve their next trial. The Overseer first explains that he had brought the acolyte to be trained ahead of schedule because he wanted someone of proper blood to advance the Academy's trials. This meant that Tremel was interfering with Sith training traditions, which was punishable by death. However, the acolyte is ambitious and also wants to advance. Their next trial saw the acolyte enter the tomb of Marka Ragnos. There they would meditate by the fire and wait for a legendary beast. Their trial was to defeat the beast, which of course the acolyte did. After returning yet again to the Academy, Overseer Tremel instructs the Acolyte to visit Darth Barris, so the Acolyte may place their bid to be his apprentice. Overseer Tremel's entire goal was to ensure the Acolyte gets the position over non-worthy students. When facing Darth Barris for the first time, it becomes clear that the Acolyte's training is not complete. Barris informs the Acolyte that he's aware of Tremel's discretions, and he does not approve of Overseer Tremel's inability to adapt to the modern Sith doctrine. Because of this, Darth Barris claims the Acolyte as his new student and commands them to kill Overseer Tremel. When the Acolyte returns to Overseer Tremel, the Acolyte can decide to kill him or spare him. If they choose to kill, then they lose a potential ally for the future. If they choose to spare him, then Tremel returns later on to aid and support them. Regardless, after returning to Barris with the command complete, another trial begins. This time, our Sith Acolyte must complete a trial that is more traditional. Darth Barris sends the Acolyte along with his other potential Acolytes to the tomb of Tulak Horde. Here they are tasked with retrieving ancient shards that adorn some ruined shrines. When the Acolytes return to Darth Barris, he sees it was the Sith Acolyte that had single-handedly accomplished the task. Impressed with their success so far, Barris declared the Acolyte his new favourite and seemingly brushed off his other Acolytes. Darth Barris then tasks the Acolyte with entering the tomb of Naga Sadow and retrieving the ancient Sith Lord's lightsaber. The female Twi'lek the Acolyte met earlier, Vet, was recruited as a companion at this point because she was caught plundering in that exact tomb. She was equipped with a shock collar and forced into following the Acolyte and guiding them along the path. Vet revealed that the Acolyte had to flip 4 ancient switches to reveal the area they need to explore. While on the trial, one of the other Acolytes of Barris, Vemrin, decided to ambush the Sith Acolyte in the tombs. However, this did not go in their favour, and the Acolytes easily defended themselves and killed the scumbag Vemrin. After killing them, the Acolyte continues to pursue the lightsaber, which they successfully found in a sarcophagus nearby. Before being able to return to Darth Barris with news of their success, the Acolyte was once again ambushed, except this time it was within the Academy walls. The daughter of Overseer Tremel had heard of her father's death, and now she seeked vengeance. Even if they let Tremel live, the daughter still comes looking for them. This is because if they let him live, he will go into hiding, essentially pretending to be dead. After killing the disgruntled daughter, the Sith Acolyte continues to inform Barris that they had completed the trial. At this point, Darth Barris will appoint the Acolyte as his new apprentice and ask them to meet him on the Sith capital, Dromund Kaas. Darth Barris briefs his new apprentice on Dromund Kaas, explaining that he has spies located all across the galaxy, even in the Jedi Order. It will be the Sith apprentice's duty to aid Barris in all that he commands, while soaking in small bits of knowledge from their master as to grow stronger in the dark side of the Force. After helping Darth Barris obtain a powerful interrogation tool called the Ravager, the apprentice and Barris both learn that the Jedi have a new Padawan who is able to sense and root out the spies that Barris has planted within the Republic. The Ravager was used on the mind of a Republic SIS agent who freely told all information before his brain turned into liquid. They discovered this Padawan was training underneath a Jedi Master named Nomen Karr, a Jedi who had once before confronted Barris and almost defeated him. Darth Barris grants his new apprentice a starship and sends them across the galaxy to search and destroy this Padawan. The first planet Barris sends his apprentice to is Balmorra. Here they are to meet with a contact named Malavai Quinn, who had previously worked with Barris. It was the apprentice's mission to seek out one of Barris's spies and retire them. However, there is also a Jedi investigator who may have collected evidence against Barris's spy network. The apprentice eventually discovers this spy and ends them as Barris requested. However, the Jedi had set up an ambush at the spaceport. The Jedi was almost able to send their proof of spies back to the Jedi Council. However, Malavai Quinn intercepted the transmission and blocked it, meaning the Jedi were completely unaware of the evidence against Barris's spy network. With the mission successful, Malavai Quinn requests to join the apprentice on their travels and becomes a companion for the journey. With the mission of finding the new mysterious Jedi Padawan still ongoing, Barriss decides it's best to eliminate another one of his spies on Nar Shaddaa to tie up loose ends. On Nar Shaddaa, a rival of Darth Barriss appears. This is Lord Rafari, a rising Sith Lord who had been noticed by the Dark Council and granted dominion of some areas on Nar Shaddaa. Barriss instructs his apprentice to destroy Lord Rafari and eliminate the spy. The apprentice rises to the challenge and is able to draw Lord Rafari out into a confrontation, where they may choose to kill him or allow him to live so he may support their power base later on. With business concluded on Nar Shaddaa, the apprentice sets out for their next destination. After leaving the planet, they became aware of a ship that was tracking their movements on behalf of the Jedi Master Nomen Karr. This Jedi sought information on Barriss's new apprentice and wanted to have their movements tracked. Nomen Karr sees that the apprentice seems to be searching for clues about his own Padawan. This is the mysterious Padawan that Barriss had learned of with the power to sense a person's true nature. A power that could expose his entire spy network. Darth Barriss sends his apprentice to deal with the ship that had been tracking them and to deal with everyone on board. After dealing with this side objective, Barriss informs his apprentice that his spies have found leads about the Padawan on the worlds of Tatooine and Alderaan. Apparently, Alderaan is where the Padawan was raised, and Tatooine is where they were trained. Firstly, the Sith apprentice travels to the world of Tatooine, where they meet with an agent of Darth Barriss. This agent had been able to reveal the Padawan's path through the planet. The Jedi Padawan had been to Tatooine before and was trained here by a Jedi Master known as Master Yanlock. The apprentice follows the breadcrumbs so that they may find the Jedi who trained the Padawan. The goal here was to draw the Padawan out of hiding by striking at those she might be close to. By striking out at the Jedi who assisted their training here on Tatooine, it may help to draw the Padawan out of hiding. Eventually, the Sith apprentice must venture into the most lethal areas of the planet's surface. They visited a desert oasis that was touched by the Force. Here they had to face a reflection of themselves so that the Force may show them the next step of their path. The vision shows the apprentice the location of a building in the Dune Sea. This is the building where the Jedi Master they are searching for are currently residing. After visiting the building and defeating the Jedi within, the apprentice reports their success back to Darth Barriss, and the mission to flush out the Padawan continues on Alderaan. The reputation of the Sith apprentice begins to reach the ears of many within the Empire. When the apprentice reaches Alderaan, it becomes clear that the other Dark Lords present are aware of their status, as they show respect when speaking. To be an apprentice to Darth Barriss was already a big deal, but now our apprentice has killed many infamous Jedi, including Masters, and a 100% success rate on missions. The apprentice was becoming a true Sith warrior. The Sith warrior was told by Barriss that the Padawan they were searching for had been raised on Alderaan. The plan was to find her family and either kill them or convert them to the Empire. Either one would be enough to help draw them out. One of Barriss's agents who represented a noble house on Alderaan had managed to discover that the Padawan matched the identity of a handmaiden who used to serve one of the other noble houses. Not too long after, the Sith warrior finds out the name of the Padawan, Jaesa Willsaam, a female human. Be sure to check out our Explained video on her. The Sith warrior eventually finds Jaesa Willsaam's parents. They can decide to kill them, or to convince them their only option for survival is to join the Empire. After completing the task and reporting back to Barriss, the Sith warrior gets a recorded communication. Jaesa Willsaam had personally sent a message. She wanted to end the bloodshed and meet face to face with the Sith warrior. Jaesa didn't want to be caught up in a war between Darth Barriss and Nomen Karr. She sends her ship's coordinates. However, her master Nomen Karr had intercepted this and ambushed the Sith warrior with two of his colleagues instead. The two colleagues didn't make it. Darth Barriss contacts the Sith warrior and tells them Nomen Karr has challenged him to a duel. Nomen Karr has a history with Darth Barriss. Be on the lookout for his Explained video coming this year to learn more. Darth Barriss decides to send his apprentice to face Nomen Karr rather than going himself. Barriss feels he has outgrown this rivalry with this Jedi in particular, The Sith warrior accepts the challenge and must make their way to Hutta for the final showdown. Defeating the Padawan's master would be more than enough to draw her out. The Sith warrior heads for Hutta, and without too much difficulty, they find Nomen Karr and defeat them in combat. It turns out that Nomen Karr had been on the precipice of turning to the dark side for a long time. Just after the battle ends, Jaesa Willsaam arrives on the scene to confront the Sith warrior. If the Sith warrior chooses the path of the light side, then they will drive the Jedi Master Nomen Karr insane with their backwards logic, resulting in him using the dark side to attack you. After Jaesa witnesses this, she chooses to follow the Sith warrior, but will remain true to her Jedi teachings, believing she is working towards the goal of reforming the Sith Empire from within. However, if the Sith warrior chooses the path of the dark side for this encounter, then it is possible to show Jaesa Willsaam the true nature of the dark side. When she sees how much more powerful the warrior is, she accepts that her teachings were a lie, and she will pledge herself to the warrior as a follower of the dark side. Jaesa Willsaam is the only companion that is reflected in this way, truly a unique character. Regardless of the result, the mission is a success. Barris's spy network remains intact and is no longer threatened by Jace's unique gifts. The Sith warrior is rewarded by their master. Barris grants them the rank of Sith Lord for becoming a master of the dark arts. Now their prestige would be recognized by all from within the Sith Empire, and Jedi who survived encountering them would tell the tale of a hulking, brutish, and relentless Sith Lord. Darth Barris now explains to his apprentice he has much larger plans. Barris, along with his master, Darth Vengeance, seek to reignite the war and break the Treaty of Coruscant. To do this, Barris explains that they must eliminate an infamous Republic general who had previously denied the Empire on the fringe systems. After the Sith warrior completes this assassination, Darth Vengeance gives the order for Plan Zero. Plan Zero was the systematic assassination of the Republic's top military leaders. There were 6 targets total. However, right now, Barris only had the location of 4 of them, all of which was on the planet Taris, the world that was decimated by Darth Malak 300 years before. The Sith warrior's companions proved to be invaluable assets while on Taris. Malavai Quinn provides a constant flow of news, updates, and information on the mission. Jaesa is more than prepared for a combat situation. The Twi'lek vet had proven useful with slicing and hacking. With their combined skills, the 4 targets that had gathered on Taris were easily located, assaulted, and eventually killed. A new companion joins the Sith warrior after the successful mission, Lieutenant Pierce, a former member of Imperial Black Ops, said to be one of the best. Barris informs his apprentice that Darth Vengeance had led an assault against the fringe systems, but had fallen into an ambush. It was unclear whether or not someone from within the Empire had leaked their plans to the Republic. However, after the Sith warrior charged in to help one of the Imperial ships, it soon became clear that the entire thing had been a case of Sith infighting. Darth Barris had actually planned on allowing his master, Darth Vengeance, to attack the fringe systems while one of Barris's Republic agents, an infamous admiral, managed to infiltrate one of the attacking Imperial ships and seize it. This admiral fled the Imperial ship shortly before the Sith warrior arrived. However, the warrior chases them down to the planet of Quesh, and that is where they discover the truth of their true loyalty to Barris. The warrior then kills the admiral and all of his men. This admiral also just so happened to be one of the targets on the hit list for Plan Zero, meaning 5 of the 6 targets are now dead. When the warrior returns to Barris, it is explained to them that for now they must remain in the dark. However, what had happened was an attempt to sully the reputation of Darth Vengeance. His attack on the fringe system did not go well, and not only that, the attack itself is the action that broke the Treaty of Coruscant. Peace between the Empire and Republic had now come to an end. War was upon the galaxy again. For now, Barris instructs his apprentice to deal with the last target from Plan Zero, a Jedi Knight named Zaranda, located on Hoth, It turns out that yet another previous enemy of Barriss had once again surfaced. An enemy Jedi he thought to be dead was actually alive and well thanks to being sustained by the Force. This was Jedi Master Wilot, who had been captured during the war many years ago and presumed to be dead after his ship was shot down. Turns out he crash-landed on Hoth and has been trapped there in a cave-in ever since. The last target of Plan Zero, Jedi Knight Zaranda, just happened to be the former Padawan of this Jedi Master Wilot. The Sith warrior was able to track down these Jedi and eliminate them. If the warrior walks the path of light, then they can choose to let the Jedi live, but they must remain trapped within the cave for the rest of time. While on Hoth, the Sith warrior recruits another companion, an alien Tals named Brunmark. With all targets on Plan Zero killed or otherwise out of action, Darth Barriss is very pleased. Barriss reveals to his apprentice that his plan was to complete Plan Zero and push Darth Vengeance into conflict with the Republic. Barriss's undercover admiral had then sabotaged the attack, and the entire thing backfired when the Treaty of Coruscant was broken. All of this made Darth Vengeance look really bad, so Barriss now knew that if he were to strike out and kill Vengeance, he could inherit his position on the Dark Council. This had been the plan all along, Sith politics and personal gain for Darth Barriss. Rather than going himself, Barriss sends his apprentice to deal with Darth Vengeance. Vengeance had an apprentice named Lord Drag. However, Lord Drag was actually loyal to Darth Barriss. Vengeance found out about this and took Lord Drag prisoner. Barriss instructs his apprentice to free Lord Drag and attack Darth Vengeance as a duo. Despite the warrior wanting to do this alone, the warrior obeys their master's order. After freeing Lord Drag and successfully defeating Darth Vengeance, Darth Barriss is quick to rise to his new seat on the Dark Council. It would seem that despite all the hard work the warrior has gone through, their master Darth Barriss would benefit the most. With a new war against the Republic on the horizon, Darth Barriss sends his apprentice to the world of Quesh to finalize the Empire's control of the planet. However, Darth Barriss had actually deceived the Sith warrior. They had become a threat to Barriss because of how powerful they had become. The warrior was quickly excelling and likely to exceed their master. Barriss decides to act first and take out his own apprentice. Barriss had yet another Republic spy who had helped manipulate the scene on Quesh. Lord Drag then assists Barriss by personally setting off an explosive charge near the Sith warrior. The explosion was meant to be enough to kill them, but the vitality of the Sith warrior proved to be mighty. They survived. In fact, the Sith warrior had grown so powerful that even the Emperor himself had taken notice. Two of the Emperor's minions, Servant 1 and Servant 2, had revealed themselves to the Sith warrior on Quesh. These two minions were to recruit the Sith warrior and anoint them as the Emperor's Wrath, a title that is legend, a rank that carries the full might of the Emperor's will. The Sith warrior had been chosen, specifically selected for this role. The two minions explained that after the Treaty of Coruscant, the Emperor retreated into silence. Darth Barriss had learned of this and used this for his own agenda. With the Emperor seemingly absent, Barriss was free to make his own claims. Barriss was now claiming to be the voice of the Emperor, the chosen Sith to relay the words of the Empire's divine ruler. This was simply not acceptable to the actual Emperor. It was his will that the new Wrath seek and destroy Darth Barriss. However, he must also be exposed for the liar and fraud he is. A blatant attack could make him a martyr or inspire others to his cause. The two minions became the new point of contact for the Sith warrior. The new plan was to undermine Darth Barriss and his power base. If they could get the attention of the Dark Council, then they could expose his lies. The first blow against Barriss is dealt on the prison world of Belsavis. On this world, Barriss's sister, Darth Ekage, had been held prisoner for many years. She is also a former Dark Council member. The Sith warrior learns that Barriss seeks to free his sister and gain her support for his claim of being the Emperor's voice. So the Sith warrior intercepts this rescue and destroys Darth Ekage before she can escape the planet. With the first blow against Barriss successful, the Emperor's two minions explain to the Sith warrior that Barriss has Dark Council members who oppose him, the main one of which is Darth Vowron. This Dark Lord resides on the world of Corellia, which is protected mostly by an impressive Imperial dreadnought. Barriss had requested this dreadnought be moved to Hoth, knowing full well that Darth Vowron would soon be dead if they couldn't defend the planet. So the Sith warrior visits the captain of this dreadnought personally and rescinds Barriss's order, another act that undermines their former master while aiding those who seek to oppose him. The more the warrior undermined Darth Barriss, the less likely people would be to believe his claims about being the Emperor's voice. Darth Barriss had quickly learned that his former apprentice survived and now seeked vengeance, so Barriss sends Lord Drag to ambush the Sith warrior. However, this confrontation just proves the warrior to be the strongest of Barriss's apprentices. Lord Drag was defeated. After this success, the two minions explain that the Emperor had long ago possessed a Voss visionary and claimed them as his voice. When the Empire first attacked Voss, they didn't do so because they wanted the planet. The Emperor secretly wanted to embody one of the Voss to inherit their powers of visions through the Force. The Voss were naturally attuned to such a gift. However, the Emperor's true voice had fallen silent. What actually happened is long ago Darth Barriss was the one to discover the potential of the Voss aliens. Barriss offered this information to the Emperor along with a lead on a mysterious being known as Selma Kor, a dark entity that had said to have been older than the Emperor himself. This of course piqued the Emperor's interest and he accepted the information and offering from Darth Barriss. The Emperor had actually been led into a trap. Darth Barriss had intentionally led the Emperor into a certain room on Voss, a room that the Emperor's true voice would be trapped within forever. This gave Barriss the freedom to rise within the ranks using lies and deception. It was the responsibility of the Emperor's wrath, the Sith warrior, to now find a way to free the voice and the Emperor's silence over the Empire. When the warrior finds the voice hidden on Voss, the voice commands the warrior to destroy his body so his essence may be freed. The Emperor essentially orders his own death. Once the task is done, the Emperor is pleased and returns to his domain. To further learn the story of the Emperor, check out my explained video on him. After leaving the world of Voss, the Sith warrior is lured into yet another trap. Except this time, they had been betrayed by their own companion, Malavai Quinn. The Sith warrior confronts Malavai and defeats them in a fight. Malavai explains that he had been forced into servitude by Darth Barriss. The warrior may choose to forgive Malavai and move on, or they may choose to force him into servitude once more and treat him with disdain. After this betrayal is sorted and in the past, the Emperor's minions direct the Sith warrior to Corellia. Darth Vowron is still a potential ally, and since he is a Dark Council member, it was a good idea to get his support. So the Sith warrior sets out to meet Darth Vowron. When they eventually meet face to face, Vowron accepts the Sith warrior's help, and also accepts that they are the Emperor's wrath. Darth Barriss was due to speak in the Dark Council chambers very soon, and declare his authority over the Empire. Barriss tried to have Vowron assassinated because he knows he opposes his claims. However, the Sith warrior intercepted this assassination. While on the planet Corellia, the Sith warrior learns of another one of Barriss's operations. Barriss seeks a dark entity who had been hidden away on the planet. I will be making a video on this character in the future, as the story implies that this entity could be the former lover of the Emperor. If this is true, it means the entity is connected to Darth Nul, or is Darth Nul? We'll see. Anyways, the Sith warrior foils this plot, and actually helps to release the entity and give them their freedom. Once the alliance with Vowron was established, he explained that most of the Dark Council don't actually believe Barriss's claims, yet majority of them would still support him when the next meeting began. This was because Darth Barriss had spent years collecting secrets, evidence, and who knows what else to use against individual members of the Dark Council. Barriss also had so many Republic spies, he could basically send out a Jedi assassin team to hunt down any Sith he chooses to expose. These things accumulated was enough to blackmail and intimidate his way to the top of the Sith hierarchy. The Sith warrior decides it's best to find all the leverage Barriss holds and destroy it. This way the Dark Council is free to reject Barriss without the fear of being exposed or hunted. After this is done, Vowron makes arrangements for the Sith warrior to gain access to the Dark Council chambers on Korriban, where Barriss would be speaking.
It had better be Darth Vowron coming through those doors.
Today, your reign ends.
Interesting.
This isn't the time for one of your games, Vowron.
For the voice of the Emperor, you're uncharacteristically silent. Didn't the Emperor warn you of this?
I'm merely amused, young one. My fellows, this is my former apprentice. No doubt you're acquainted with his defiance. He was unworthy of me, so I excised him. The Emperor will inform me what is to be done with Vowron. For now, assist me in destroying this rabble.
If Barriss is true, and I false, he should be able to defeat me himself. Make him prove he is what he says.
You need only judge by who stands with this cretin. Overseer Trimmel, a base coward who tried to undermine the purity of our training process.
The Challenger is also supported by Darth Vowron, one of our own. I have no doubt about you, Barriss. But swat this gnat quickly so we can continue our business.
Fine. The Master will grant the slave's last wish. The Emperor calls for your death. Attack me if you dare.
I was never, nor shall I ever be, your slave.
If the warrior chose to keep Overseer Tremmel and Lord Rafari alive, then they will appear here at the end to support the Sith warrior within the Dark Council chambers. The Sith warrior enters the Dark Council chamber and interrupts Barriss's speech. Because of everything the warrior has done to undermine Barriss, the Dark Council think it's best for the Sith warrior and Barriss to fight to the death. The warrior claims to be the Wrath. Barriss claims to be the Voice. No single Dark Council member will provoke the Emperor. The two must fight. The one who lives speaks the truth.
Had enough, child? Can you feel your grip on life slipping? Why persist in this futile gesture of vengeance? Let go. Embrace your death.
Forget the bravado, Barriss. No one's buying it.
Just being sporting. I would think you'd appreciate the chance to catch your breath. Your champion is failing, Vowron, and you'll be next.
Is that coming from you or from the Emperor, Barriss? It's hard to tell the difference.
Don't mock me, fop! Your patron just ensured your suffering will be epic, youngster. Now, die!
You're depleted, Barriss. You hover a breath away from destruction.
No! My powers abandon me!
Beg me to let you live.
I call upon the Dark Council to kill this fool! Now! The Emperor commands it! Darth Marr, strike on the Emperor's behalf, or suffer his disfavor!
I believe I'll take my chances.
Ravage! Has your sense left you as well? Defend me! Defend the Voice!
I will not stand in the path of the Emperor's wrath.
You think you've won? You think you can silence the Emperor's true voice? Deliver the death blow then! From beyond darkness, I shall strike at you! Someday, vengeance will be mine!
I wash the galaxy clean of you.
I cannot die!
After defeating their former master, the Sith warrior is officially recognized as the Emperor's Wrath, answerable only to the Emperor himself. The Sith warrior reminds the Dark Council that if any of them ever act in opposition to the Emperor's designs, the Wrath will tear them down. Yet the following years would prove to be challenging as time goes on and events change in the galaxy. Along with the removal of the Sith Emperor, the warrior becomes instead the Empire's Wrath. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, please be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video. YouTube doesn't push all our videos out, so being subbed is the best way to make sure you see every awesome lore video. Let me know who you want to see next and I'll catch you in the next one. May the Force be with you. The Eternal family was made up of 5 humans: their father, Valkorion, the mother, SWTOR, 2 twin sons, Vexen and Aryn, and last but most certainly not least, the daughter Vaylin. In this video, we'll be covering the mother Senya and the 3 children of the family. Valkorion needed his own video since he's a busy ancient Sith. We were first introduced to the Eternal family with the launch of Knights of the Fallen Empire back in late 2015. Being affiliated with Valkorion alone is enough to strike fear into many people, but to be the offspring of such a powerful Sith, that would be something truly special. The origin of this family began with the construction of the Eternal Empire. There was a human warrior named Valkorion. He was a native of Zakuul. He and his people worshipped the old gods. There was a prophecy on Zakuul. A demon savior would appear and destroy the god known as Isaacs, a devourer of life, who reveled in pain and suffering. When the Sith Emperor Vizla explored wild space, he discovered Zakuul, and he possessed a human named Valkorion, making Zakuul his new home, a place to build a new empire in secret. And so the construction of the Eternal Empire began. SWTOR was a human female, also a native of Zakuul. At a very young age, Senya joined the Knights of Zakuul. She was a Force sensitive and an excellent combatant. As she got older, she found herself on the personal guard for the immortal Emperor. Senya was very outspoken, even around the Emperor himself. This is one of the things that attracted him to her. It didn't take long for the two of them to begin a love affair. Senya eventually had 3 children to Valkorion, all of which were very gifted in the Force. As the children grew older, Senya became more and more aware of how cruel and distant their father could be. Valkorion would never be impressed by the feats his son achieved. Senya knew Valkorion only cared about his own goals. He would never give them the chance they sorely wanted. Then Vaylin was born. Vaylin was naturally gifted in the Force. When she was just a mere child playing in the forest, she was able to completely decimate a hanging set of armor with just her scream. She had raw, untamed power boiling inside. Because of this, Vaylin had to be supervised. She had no apparent control over her power with the Force. Senya would actively discourage her from using the Force. Like her older twin brothers, Vaylin also trained in a fighting pit against Zakuul Knights. It was hard for Vaylin to grasp melee combat, but she knew she was powerful. During a training session, she became frustrated with routines she couldn't master yet. As a result, Vaylin reached out with the Force and levitated the knight opposing her, as well as the knights stood around the fighting pit. As they float there, fearing for their lives, she crushes the armor of the knights into themselves. Her mother calls out to snap her out of it. Senya's voice was distant to Vaylin. It took a few moments for her to realize what she was doing. After it was done, Vaylin and Senya both turned to see that Valkorion had been watching. All the knights she raised were dead. The immortal Emperor declared that Vaylin was too powerful and she needed to be taught discipline. Ultimately, Valkorion had lied. He instead planned to condition Vaylin's power. He knew that someday she could pose a threat to him. If he didn't have her under control, then she might have just killed him as well. Although I'm doubting it would be an accident. Vaylin was sent to the planet Nathema, while still a little girl, to be conditioned by the zealots there. She walked in as an innocent small girl, looking back at her mother who could do nothing to stop the situation. Seeing her daughter be taken like that broke Senya apart. Senya loved all her children and always tried to keep them safe, despite the fact her sons sought their father's approval and attention, while Vaylin was left to think she was abandoned. One night, Senya dreamed about what was actually happening to Vaylin, so she decided to attempt a rescue mission. In the end, Senya failed to bring Vaylin home, even though she did kill a bunch of zealots, and looked like a badass while doing it. When she had defeated them, she realized it was too late. Her daughter had already resented her for abandoning her there. Valkorion had also arrived to stop her taking Vaylin, and this was a fight she could not win. They all grew to resent their mother. They called her weak, essentially abandoning her. The only time all of them were in the same room was if it was for a public event. Probably inspires morale when the people of Zakor see them all together, even if they don't see what happens behind closed doors. Senya decided to be away from the family after her failed rescue attempt. She assigned herself to missions on the fringe of wild space, thus being absent from her family while they grew up. Not to mention, Vaylin was left alone on Nathema to be conditioned. The twin sons Aryn and Phexen were inseparable. Where one went, the other followed. Phexen was seen by the people as a good person, a strong warrior and someone to look up to for their kids. Aryn was more violent. He preferred getting his hands dirty, all while trying to please his father. Phexen didn't share these thoughts as much as you might expect. Phexen was more content with his role than Aryn was. I guess you could say they were two sides of the same coin. That's not to say Phexen didn't seek his father's attention, he just didn't cry about it when it didn't happen. As you might expect, these brothers were very close. Aryn always struggled with his father, but he had his brother there to calm him and be there for him. They had been through a lot together over the years. Phexen wore dark robes while Aryn wore light robes. This had no connection to the side of the Force they were aligned with. The brothers wielded a yellow blade. It almost seemed to be gold. The children were trained to use the Force and access all emotions. They were not limited by the politics of the Jedi or Sith. Valkorion's eternal empire transcended light and dark. Eventually it was time for Vaylin to come home from Nathema. Valkorion sent Aryn to bring Vaylin home. Even though she had been gone a long time, Vaylin herself did not know she had been conditioned, nor did her brothers. The only thing Valkorion told her was that she needed to learn discipline. When she was brought home and presented to the Emperor, he bestowed upon her her first lightsaber, the same color as the twins' blades. When she held it, she ignited it, causing tension to spark in the room. Her brothers had prepared themselves in case she lashed out, but she didn't. She put the blade on her side and pledged her fealty to the immortal Emperor, although her true intentions would be to bide her time before she decides to turn on her father. Her true loyalties lied with her brothers, mostly Phexen. Phexen was the only person to make regular visits to Vaylin on Nathema, and he always brought a gift. They both despised the planet for its void in the Force. The children were together again, all grown up and eager to prove themselves to their father. The time came for the Eternal Empire to make its debut appearance in the galaxy. Aryn and Phexen both went to war against the Republican Sith. It was later referred to as the Eternal Raids, decimating armies on Korriban and Belsavis. While on Korriban, Aryn lost an arm in combat and was injured badly on his face with burns. His brother Phexen stayed with him while he was being treated for his wounds. The scars of battle show for Aryn now. He now wore cybernetics, a mask to cover his burns and an arm to replace the one he lost. This didn't stop Aryn. If anything, it fueled his rage more, giving him more power to channel in battle. The twins saw victory after victory. They took lightsabers from Jedi and Sith alike to present to their father as trophies from war. Even though they had laid waste to the galaxy and eliminated many powerful enemies, Valkorion was not impressed. He didn't even speak a word, and just turned away. This was the last straw for Aryn. He lashed out, consumed by rage, charging his father from behind to attack. His brother Phexen pulled him back using the Force, which resulted in a short lightsaber duel. Aryn retaliated while blinded by anger. He dealt a fatal blow to his brother. As the realization of what happened hits Aryn, you can see the orange tint leave his eyes and become blue again. His brother Phexen grasps Aryn's hand as he falls lifeless to the ground. He had killed his brother, his twin brother, the only person who actually ever cared about him. As Aryn looks up, he sees his father reaching out with his hand and he says,
"Come with me, son."
Valkorion respects strength. It was more than likely that Valkorion was waiting for one of his sons to die. After all, only one of them can succeed him. If you look at Valkorion's eyes, you can see they turned from blue to Sith yellow when he reached out to Aryn. The truth of what happened in the throne room stayed only with the Emperor, Aryn, and Vaylin. The public and their mother was led to believe that Vexen died in the core world during their raids on the galaxy. The truth about the family was quite dangerous. Valkorion was a Sith Emperor. Aryn was now a broken man who still couldn't appease his father. Vaylin was tortured and conditioned as a child, leaving her somewhat insane. Their mother wasn't around. Soon after these events, the Outlander and Darth Marr are taken captive and brought before Valkorion in the throne room. After Valkorion kills Darth Marr, everyone except the family leaves the room. At this point, Valkorion offered the Outlander to share in his power and join his eternal empire, something he had never done with his children. Aryn was furious about this. As the Emperor shares his power, Aryn strikes from behind, appearing to destroy Valkorion, something which they would later find out is not the case at all. The Outlander can also choose to not kneel for Valkorion, which instead leads to Valkorion giving Aryn the signal to execute the Outlander. But rather than executing them, Aryn frees them, wanting to have a temporary alliance while they both kill him together. In this situation, it's the Outlander that puts the blade through the Emperor's back. But regardless, the outcome is always the same. The Emperor dies, the Outlander gets possessed by the Emperor, and Aryn takes the throne. The Emperor had actually latched onto the Outlander and developed a force bond with them. Valkorion basically became a lodger in their head. Aryn lies to the public and tells them the Outlander killed Valkorion, thus making the Outlander an enemy of Zakuul. He promptly captured the Outlander and imprisons them in Carbonite. With the Emperor dead and the Outlander imprisoned in Carbonite, Aryn took over the Eternal Throne and the Empire with it. His sister Vaylin fully supported him and took the title High Justice for the Empire. She would also become the leader of the Knights of Zakuul. Aryn reigned as Emperor with his sister Vaylin for 5 years. In the first year, he dominated the Sith and Republic into submission. The Eternal Empire was recognized as the authority in the galaxy. All of the factions were to pay tribute to the Eternal Empire moving forward. Senya had been watching her 2 children rule the galaxy. She knew they had become tyrannical and must be stopped. It was at this point Senya reached out to Lana Beniko to aid her in rescuing the Outlander, which Lana successfully did. While the Outlander was escaping with Lana, Vaylin herself was hunting them down, trying to stop the escape. She pulled no punches when attacking them, hurling huge chunks of the environment around her at them. Despite her show of force, they still escaped. Later on, Senya would meet with Lana and the Outlander in the swamps of Zakuul, where she helped them free the gravestone from being stuck in the ground. All this did was give her children another reason to resent her, as she now actively stood against them and in public too. The conflict went on. Senya continued to aid the Outlander in many vital missions. She had fully joined the alliance that stood against the Eternal Empire. Eventually, Vaylin and Senya would meet again on a skyport named Asylum. They fight with each other. Senya was able to get the better hand of Vaylin. She quite literally had Vaylin in an execution position. But of course, she couldn't kill her own daughter. Vaylin told her the terrible truth. She told her that it was Aryn who killed Vexen, that she was lied to. Senya later said that what she had learned had struck her down to the very core. She felt guilty. Maybe if she was the one to raise Aryn, it wouldn't have happened. Aryn and Vaylin seemed unstoppable. However, the Alliance commander had Valkorion aiding him against his children. After a long conflict with the Alliance and the revelation of his father still being around, Aryn was eventually defeated. Aryn fought the Outlander on the bridge of his ship. The Outlander was able to overcome the mighty Aryn with the guidance and training provided by the immortal Emperor. Even though their fight was cut short when their ship was bombarded by the Eternal Fleet, Aryn was separated from the Outlander by falling debris. He was then found unconscious by his mother Senya, who decided to save him from destruction and carry him to her shuttle. Also, Vaylin came to find Aryn and Senya in the debris of the bridge. Senya pleaded with Vaylin that Aryn needed to be healed, but Vaylin wanted none of it. She was there for blood alone. When Vaylin pounced at her mother Senya, it was actually Aryn that force pushed her back. This really didn't look good to Vaylin. She absolutely hated her mother, and now it seemed as if Aryn was on her side. Senya tells the Alliance commander that she needs to heal Aryn, that she can fix him. Meanwhile, Vaylin has taken over the Eternal Throne thanks to the Gemini droid Scorpio. Thus began the reign of Empress Vaylin. Before Senya took Aryn to be healed, she flew to the planet Ord Mantell to meet with potential allies, old Zakuul Knights that were still loyal to her, but it was a trap. Vaylin got there first and killed everyone, leaving nothing but death and destruction in her wake. When Senya arrived, Vaylin was waiting and appeared out of the shadows. Both mother and daughter fought until one of their weapons caught a nearby hyperdrive that exploded. For some reason, Vaylin shielded herself and Senya from the blast, but don't mistake this for mercy. Vaylin wanted her mother dead, but on her own terms, no one else's. Senya was able to get away and take Aryn to Voss. The healing shrine there will calm his rage. The Alliance commander chased Aryn here, but Senya was ready to die defending him. When the healing ritual was finished, a wave of energy filled the room and knocked everyone off their feet. The healing was successful and Aryn managed to slip away. While Aryn escapes, the Alliance commander can choose to execute Senya for treason, or to forgive her and allow her to rejoin the Alliance. If she is executed, Vaylin senses her death and expresses how it feels to the nearby innocent sky troopers. Aryn just barely managed to escape the Alliance commander. Eventually the Outlander would come face to face with Vaylin on the gravestone. They fight. It's clear that Vaylin is powerful. One of the reasons why Valkorion conditioned her was because she might pose a threat to him someday. Her potential was quite extraordinary. During the fight, Valkorion interrupts. Vaylin was about to defeat the Outlander and the Emperor was not okay with that. "Kneel before the Dragon of Zakul," he said. When spoken, she would become weak, like all her power just abandons her. Luckily, Vaylin was able to escape. Vaylin knew exactly what she wanted to do. It all made sense to her now. She would go back to Nathema and discover the truth of what happened as well as undoing it. As Empress, she had complete control over the facility she used to be imprisoned in. She sent orders to prepare a method to remove her conditioning. In the meantime, the planet Iokath attracted both the Eternal Empire and the Alliance. They both met in battle while approaching the planet Iokath. But a huge light consumed the battle and all of a sudden everyone woke up on the surface. Vaylin included. However, Vaylin had awoken inside a form of prison cell. With no obvious exit and no one around to help, she gets angry and starts tearing panels off the wall and making a mess. Out of nowhere, her brother Vexen appears. Vaylin embraces him. It's clear she loved him and missed him. But she was suspicious. She couldn't feel his presence there. Vaylin lied to him by casually mentioning Vexen bringing Vaylin home from Nathema. The Vexen in front of her didn't question this statement. It was actually Aryn who brought Vaylin home from Nathema, not Vexen. The Empress was not amused by this trick. She tore more panels from the walls, making a large heap of metal as she could slam into the wall and make a hole. She walks out of her cell and continues to find a way out. Eventually, when Vaylin was back on Zakul, she was attacked by the Alliance. Her brother Aryn had also returned to take back his throne and rule again. Vaylin wasn't ready to give up her new position just yet, so brother and sister fight. The Alliance commander eventually shows up and Vaylin uses the opportunity to escape the fight. She had more important business to attend to on Nathema. Now that the Keepers there were ready for her arrival. After Vaylin escapes the fight, the Alliance commander executes Aryn for his crimes against the galaxy. It's also possible to redeem Aryn here and recruit him, but only if you didn't execute his mother. The Alliance followed Vaylin to the facility on Nathema. When they got there, they learned that Vaylin had been subject to torture, abuse and experimentation. Her father had given a keeper named Jarek free reign over his daughter, excluding only death. Before Vaylin could remove her conditioning, she had to step into and survive a force-wielding mechanical contraption that the Keepers used for experiments. No test subject had survived it yet. Vaylin knew she had to do it. She was afraid. As the machine started up and lifted her into the air, she screamed out in pain and crying for help. All the power inside of her was beginning to surface, and it lashed out all over the room. Some Keepers were caught in the energy and were completely disintegrated. Vaylin survived, of course. Her unyielding power was pulsing through the entire facility. Even Valkorion appeared afraid. When Vaylin left the facility and boarded her ship, she demonstrated her new power on her own Horizon guards. She then reached out with the Force to explode and destroy the facility that once imprisoned her. Now that she had regained her power, she was taking the fight to the Alliance base on Odessen. She wasted no time and headed there immediately. The Outlander came to face Vaylin on Odessen. She had already killed hundreds, if not thousands of troops. She even killed one of the Outlander's close companions before their very eyes. If you choose to redeem Aryn and keep Senya alive, then they will join you against Vaylin. The Outlander was able to survive Vaylin's deadly assaults. Vaylin was powerful, but ultimately she was not destined to win. The Outlander pushes through her final assault of huge force waves and strikes her down. When she died, every single one of her troops lost the will to fight. It was her anger alone that gave them the strength to fight the Alliance. Without her, they would flee. The Alliance had won the Eternal Throne, but this story isn't over just yet. When Vaylin died, she was consumed by Valkorion. Her essence and power now belonged to him. Valkorion had also done this with Aryn. There was one more person from the Eternal family that needed putting down, and it was going to take all of them to do it. When the Alliance commander took the throne, Valkorion took over their body and mind, except this time it was a little bit more invasive. Up until now, the Eternal Emperor had been subconsciously with the Outlander. Together they had a kind of bond. And now, Valkorion was ready to take over as new host. Except this was prepared for, and now was the time to strike. The Alliance commander was able to survive in their own psyche, and had to fight Valkorion from within. The Immortal Emperor had previously consumed Aryn and Vaylin when they died, and now he summons them to fight the Outlander again. However, the Outlander was able to free them of Valkorion's control, and now they were able to take down Valkorion together, an opportunity none of them wanted to pass by. The Outlander was able to use the condition Valkorion put on Vaylin against the Emperor himself. They were inside the Outlander's mind after all. Kneel before the Dragon of Zakul. Those words made the Emperor weak at the knees. Vaylin reveled in seeing her father suffer the same torture. She even chanted the line herself. As the Emperor is surrounded by enemies, one more family member joins for the beginning of the end. Senya appears in front of Valkorion, dealing one of the final blows the Emperor would ever experience. Despite his desperate attempt to survive, the Outlander deals a final, deathly blow, and the last. The Immortal Emperor was no more. With his death, the Outlander reawoke on the Eternal Throne. Reaching out with the Force, the Immortal Emperor could not be sensed, confirming he was truly destroyed, and thus the time of the Eternal family was over. Each one had been put to rest. Thank you for watching my Eternal Family Explained video. If you enjoyed it, then hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe for more awesome Star Wars videos. Stay awesome, plebs. I'll catch you in the next one. In galactic history, the Voss have only been encountered twice. The first contact with Voss happened in roughly the year 7003 BBY, in which the Sith Empire discovered Voss and decided to invade for their rich resources. The Sith learned that only the primitive Gormak species populated the planet, a somewhat intelligent species of alien who were capable to some degree with weapons and technology. However, their own innovation has not yet pioneered space travel. The Jedi Order gathered and seeked out the different Gormak tribes to enlighten them to the ways of the Force. This would also help them defend the world against the Sith invaders. However, in teaching the Gormak the ways of the Force, they also opened up a path for them to discover the dark side. Ultimately, the Gormak would reject the teachings of peace from the Jedi, and instead would use their newfound power with the Force to fight off the invading Sith Empire. They were victorious, and the Jedi and Sith departed their world. Because the Gormak submitted to the dark side, this created a dark side presence that formed an entity within an abandoned Sith structure, known as the Dark Heart. This dark entity later became known as Selmakor, a powerful anomaly in the Force, surrounded by darkness. As the Gormak fought off the invading Sith, Selmakor would gorge on the deaths and feast on the destruction. This in turn would grant it more power. Over the next 2,000 years, the Gormak who had learned to use the Force had undertaken a rapid evolution that transformed them into the Voss alien as you know them. Males would have blue skin, while females have red. They had also created an entirely new society and social structure that was completely different from that of the Gormaks they used to be. Gormaks are still present on the world. In fact, they severely outnumber the new Voss species by a significant amount. The new Voss had evolved through the use of the Force, and were now naturally gifted with the ability to see into the future, with visions. Their connection to the Force did not lean upon the light or dark, it sat square in the middle, neutral. Over the past 2,000 years, the Voss and Gormak have been at war with each other. This is something they refer to as the Eternal War. The dark entity Selmakor had actually given the Gormak leader the ability to see into the future so they may be on an even playing field with their opponents. Marr directly fueled the conflict between the two species, manipulating them into fighting so it could feed on their deaths. The Voss themselves had no idea that Marr was causing the fighting. They believed the Gormak hated them because they were Force users, which was the truth to some extent. However, all of it could have been avoided if Marr had not interfered. By the time of the Second Contact, 2 years before the Treaty of Coruscant, roughly 3655 BBY, the Voss had all but forgotten their past. All they knew now was what they had created. Once again, the Sith Empire attempts to invade the world. However, this invasion is a mere distraction so the Emperor, Darth Vitiate, can claim one of the legendary Voss visionaries for himself. The Emperor was interested in their unique ability to see into the future. Despite the Jedi Order showing up to help the Voss defend the world, they themselves knew the Empire would not be successful with their invasion. Their own mystics had seen a vision that concluded with the Empire being defeated and driven back. This vision turned out to be true when the invading Sith forces were destroyed from the inside. We later find out that the secret faction, known as the Star Cabal, were the ones who interfered with the Empire's invasion and basically stopped it. Even though the Empire lost the battle, the Emperor still claimed his prize and was able to possess a Voss visionary. After the conflict ceased and the Treaty of Coruscant is made, the Voss make it clear that they are to remain a neutral faction and will not interfere with galaxy affairs. In fact, it was forbidden for Voss to leave their own world. The Voss took their laws and creeds very seriously. Their entire society was basically martial law, and no person was ever allowed to step out of line. They had created an entire hierarchy and social structure. Once any Voss comes of age, they are sent to serve in the military as a Voss commander. In this position, they were expected to defend their homes and patrol the perimeters. Those who enjoyed life in the military could stay and pursue a career, eventually progressing to a Voss commanding officer, a position of which holds high authority over the commanders. Those who wished to leave the military could return to being a simple citizen. If they chose this life, they could become a farmer or perhaps even a builder or artist. The Voss were very talented in their architecture. Most of the shrines that they'd built were a sight worthy to be seen. Those who chose a higher calling would choose the path of a Voss mystic. Any new potential mystic had to forego many trials and tribulations. They would have to perform a pilgrimage across their holy lands, seeking wisdom from all the past elders. Many would die, but those who returned to Voss Ka would ascend into the position of Voss Mystic. All Voss Mystics could be found at one of the many different shrines that were scattered throughout their territory. There was almost a mystic for each different kind of thing: healers, dreamwalking, and visions. Many Voss healers were capable of performing rituals that could cure the mind of disease and corruption. Their power ran deep and their connection to the Force was unmatched. Dreamwalkers are Voss mystics who were capable of visiting the spirit world, a realm in which the Voss could commune with the dead and seek wisdoms from past elders. However, dreamwalking was not something the Voss looked upon lightly. Often those who practiced such things would be subject to social discredit. In fact, the Voss had actually appointed a Voss ghost to guard this realm from any off-worlder. This spirit was known as Marr and is encountered by the Sith Inquisitor. The Sith Inquisitor can choose to respect the spirit or absorb it. Unfortunately, if you choose to absorb it, you do not gain any special powers or visions, and the ghost's presence is all but forgotten. Sad times. Anyways, Voss visionaries were the foundation of Voss society and law. All visions that came were 100% accurate, with no chance of failure. They believed in their visions so much that if one didn't come true, they would be convinced that they did not interpret it properly. Because of this, they assigned many mystics the role of interpreter, so the most experienced may gather and piece together a vision that may not have been clear. In turn, these interpreters would relay the outcome of the vision to their leaders, known as the Free. The Free is a Voss council that is made up of individuals that were seen in visions. If a mystic says you are to be one of the Free, then so it must be. Any person's term on this council could be as short as 1 hour, or as long as the rest of their life. It was all based on whatever is seen in their vision. The Three were responsible for overseeing the war effort against the Gormak and also keeping together their society. Their final word was law. Corrupt officials did not exist on Voss. While their society is strange and totalitarian, it evidently works and the people are happy with it. Over time, the Voss allowed the Empire and Republic to come to their world, but they had to remain neutral and fighting was forbidden. In the past, the Voss had no need for law enforcement, but now they had allowed the wider galaxy inside, they had to form a law enforcement division. They called these appointed members Voss Adjudicators, responsible for overseeing relations with the Republic and Empire, while reminding them of their rules and delivering consequences. Eventually, the entity Selmakor is defeated and extinguished by the hero of Typhon, a Jedi Knight who came to Voss to prevent the Sith Emperor from starting another ritual that will consume all life on the world. Through Offworlders, the Voss had also discovered their ancestors were once also Gormak. When this revelation was accepted by the Three, the Voss Council and leadership, they halted all combat with the Gormak and attempted to reach out a diplomatic hand to their lost brothers. The world of Voss and its precious ancient cities were subject to a mass orbital bombardment in the later years when Valen led the Eternal Fleet. Because of this, the Voss and Gormak were able to settle their differences more quickly and become allies. Along with Selmakor out of the way, it made things a lot easier for the Voss and Gormak to become friends. Their alliance is still new and it remains on thin ice almost every day, yet the people of Voss and Gormak alike now strive toward a new future. Some Voss such as Shan have now even left the world to help the galaxy in other ways. A fun fact for you, the Voss were actually going to be a playable class in the game Star Wars The Old Republic, and would likely have been similar to the Sage, maybe even a healing focused class. However, they chose not to put it in the game and instead went with the Imperial Agent class, as this would balance out how many Force using classes there would be. So we very nearly had a playable Voss class, but it would have come at the cost of the Imperial Agent. In most recent events for the Voss, their mystics had a vision of Darth Malgus. They claim that as he dreams, he awakens a great terror, one that will destroy the galaxy. Remember to subscribe to the channel to learn more and more about the Old Republic. That's all for this one. Be on the lookout for the next video. May the Force be with you. The mysteries of Darth Nul have begun to unravel, and her identity is revealed. Centuries before the Sith Empire returned and the Republic lay dormant and at peace, there was a Jedi named Master Leneer. This Jedi was incredibly gifted in the Force. She was able to use her power to reach out to others and form special bonds with them. Master Leneer saw this power as a blessing, a gift to others, so she dedicated herself to finding Force users across the galaxy and helping them discover their hidden abilities. However, the Jedi Council of this era did not condone Master Leneer's behaviour. They believed she bestowed on worthy people a connection to the Force. People that the Jedi don't agree meet their criteria to be trained, so to speak. Because of this, Master Leneer was ostracized and cast out from the Jedi Order. After this, she let go of her past as a Jedi and essentially became no one. Despite being cast out, she was motivated to continue using her power to reach out to new people across the galaxy. She discovered a world in wild space where she could bring her disciples and train them away from the rest of the galaxy. Using her incredible power, she would call out to those who would wield the Force and guide them to her sanctuary. Unfortunately, she made a grave miscalculation. In the hidden depths of space, the Sith Emperor and his empire were in hiding.
But eventually, Nul made a connection with someone she did not intend. A being of dark malevolence, the Sith Emperor. He hunted her down, using her own power against her. Before the Emperor could reach her followers, Nul locked many of their secrets away in the ruins my team discovered. Nul and the others fought back against their captors, but their fate was sealed. The Emperor dominated the minds of her disciples, bent them to his will, enslaved them.
She accidentally brushed the mind of the Sith Emperor, which immediately drew his attention. The Emperor could not risk being exposed by any source, so it was his immediate priority to seek out this person who had reached across the galaxy and detected him. However, he also saw an opportunity to corrupt this former Jedi and use their power for himself, something the Emperor similarly did with Revan. The Emperor tracked down this former Jedi to her sanctuary and dominated the minds of herself and all her followers. With the seed of the dark side planted in her heart by force, she was reborn as Darth Nul, another asset of the Emperor. Before she was indoctrinated, Nul was able to lock away some of her secrets and relics, many of which were able to do incredible things, such as the holocron we saw from the trailer, which seemingly is able to locate any Force user in the galaxy. Darth Nul became the weapon that recruited and enslaved the Emperor's children, who were a sleeper agent style group of Force users, usually Jedi, who are set to serve the Emperor at his command. However, this was many centuries ago, perhaps before even Revan's time, which is likely. Darth Nul is now long and gone, dead. The threat of the Sith Emperor has also ended. This means Darth Nul's secrets and weapons are just waiting to be used by the next person. This is where Darth Malgus comes in.
Do you think there is any knowledge of Darth Nul that I do not already possess? It was only a matter of time before you discovered the connection. Her mastery of Jedi secrets is woven into all of her creation. Like her, my vision surmounts Jedi and Sith, Empire and Republic.
But where does this all end? What happens if you succeed?
I will tear apart the corrupt systems that allow weakness to infect the galaxy. I will stop the rot. I will burn down all of their failing legacies and see who embraces the flame.
Darth Malgus had discovered the secrets of Darth Nul, along with seeing a vision of the future, a galaxy in flames. The Voss mystics have also seen a vision that centered around Darth Malgus and what's to come. Their vision seems to align with Darth Malgus's. However, the Voss also revealed that if Darth Malgus perishes, then the vision will come to pass more quickly.
There has been a vision. Its contents are disturbing.
Life will be reshaped. Scales unbalanced.
A wave of change rises and falls, beyond the reach of Darth Malgus.
And as he dreams, he awakens a great power, one that will tear the galaxy apart.
Should Darth Malgus perish, this catastrophe will transpire more quickly.
This gives truth to Malgus's words when he said, "What I have begun will not end with me." So far, this is pretty much everything we know about Darth Nul. I don't think there is much more to learn other than what Malgus plans to do with Darth Nul's secrets and/or a super weapon. Let's talk about that. A part of Darth Nul's lightsaber was recovered by Darth Rivix. The defenses around the saber were deadly, implying the saber was being protected for a reason. Right now, I believe that the saber in its complete form will possibly give the user control over certain abilities, perhaps even certain people. I heavily suspect that Darth Nul created an off switch for those that she reached out to while under the Emperor's control. If she was somehow able to kill people from across the galaxy, then that indeed would be a powerful super weapon. For now, the only relic in use is Darth Nul's holocron. Since the Jedi Padawan Sahar obtained the holocron, we've learned it contains knowledge on how to find people, seeing as she found her brother using it, and also that it contains knowledge on a weapon.
My sister has knowledge of a powerful new weapon.
Rakan!
What? Am I wrong? You hold the key.
That was just between us.
You promised to help me.
I will. There is nothing more important to me. But this weapon, it's too dangerous.
Then people with honor should control it. We both know the cost of being powerless.
A weapon? Is this true, Sahar? Yes.
Darth Malgus himself has his eye on it.
Intriguing. Rickon, make sure no one interrupts us.
Since this vision will come to pass, even if Malgus dies, this makes me think that he was perhaps working with someone else behind the scenes. I suspect Valen, but we will see. Let me know what you think will happen next in the comment section. Remember to subscribe so you never miss a video. May the Force be with you. Aryn Leneer was a human female Jedi Knight. She was sent to Alderaan during the peace treaty negotiations as a Jedi diplomat. Her position was nothing too fancy. Specifically, she stood outside the doors of the room where the negotiations were being held. Inside the room was Grandmaster Darth Nul and the Jedi Knight Satele Shan, along with a Sith named Lord Barriss. While the negotiations were underway, Darth Malgus and an army of the Sith and Empire laid siege to Coruscant. In the full-scale attack, Aryn Leneer's former master, Vizla, was defeated and killed by Darth Malgus. Due to Aryn's adept ability of being an Force empath, she was able to feel exactly what her master felt as he was defeated. When the overwhelming feeling of pain subsided, she sensed the betrayal of Coruscant and reached out with the Force to attack the Sith stood guard in the room with her. The commotion was stopped when the Jedi Grand Master re-entered the room and declared that a peace accord had been reached. Stricken with grief, Aryn felt it was necessary to argue with the Grand Master about the situation, but she was scolded in return instead. The Jedi had to act carefully to protect the lives of people on Coruscant. Aryn Leneer knew she had to get justice for her master. He had died in so much pain and witnessing his home in ruins. She had to learn the truth about his death, who killed him, and how. She was determined. Aryn recalls an old friend by the name of Zedrid, a former soldier of the Havoc Squad unit. She decided to seek out his help in getting to Coruscant. Aryn knew that her absence would eventually be noticed, and the Council would eventually find out what she was doing, but she didn't care. She decided to leave her Jedi robes and attire behind on Alderaan, as where she was going would be dangerous for an obvious Jedi. Eventually, Aryn finds her old friend Zedrid on the planet Volta. She was able to convince him to take her to Coruscant. These days he worked as a smuggler, but they were friends and Aryn wasn't there to arrest Zedrid. Turns out he had dropped to make there anyways, so it was pretty convenient. Before leaving the planet together, Zedrid and Aryn was attacked by an unknown group of mercs. They were after the cargo Zedrid had aboard. Aryn was able to easily defend against targets, while she was being careful to not appear as a Jedi. Their situation demanded that she draw her lightsaber. They managed to get away unharmed, but they could present a problem later on. Aryn and Zedrid make their way to Coruscant only to find a huge Imperial blockade. There was no way they could sneak past to the surface. After spending some time attached to the belly of a flagship, incoming shuttles were about to see them, so they had to make a break for the planet's surface or die trying. The main dreadnought of the fleet was able to lock on their ship with its tractor beam. The dreadnought hailed their ship via holo, and a Sith was on the other side. He looked pale and wrinkled. His mouth was covered with a rebreather of sorts and his hood was drawn upwards. The Sith told them to power down or be destroyed. Zedrid, Aryn's friend, told the Sith to hell with him and disconnected the holocall. Then, they activated the thrusters and forced their way out of the tractor beam. The thrusting damaged the ship. The dreadnought also fired on the ship until it was seen exploding on the surface. Aryn had already grabbed Zedrid and jumped out of the doomed ship. Together, they both plummeted towards the surface from a more than lethal altitude. Using the Force, Aryn was able to create a form of balloon underneath them, which she used all her power to focus a safe landing for them both. After a short laugh and smiling about being alive, they both made their way to the Jedi Temple to seek answers about Vizla's death. Eventually, Aryn and Zedrid arrive at the decimated Jedi Temple. They spend what felt like hours searching through the temple for, well, anything really. An astromech droid makes its way to Aryn from within the temple, and she is happy and surprised to see the droid intact. It was a T7 unit that used to belong to her master. The droid managed to survive the attack and even retrieved her master's lightsaber from the battlefield. She was overwhelmed to receive it. Aryn decides it's best to check a terminal and see if a holovid of the attack was present. To her astounding luck, there was a holovid of the entire thing. Together they both watched the sacking of Coruscant. Aryn witnesses a Sith kill her former master, right at the temple doors. It was the same Sith she saw on the holovid earlier. She couldn't help but rewatch the footage, torturing herself with the death of her master. She felt like she could almost see him and that he wanted to say something. She couldn't tell what he was saying though. Eventually, from within the temple, Aryn senses the presence of the Sith that killed her master. She tells her friend to get to safety as she goes on looking. Suddenly, a Sith roared and came down on her from above and through the broken roof of the temple. There he was, the Sith that killed her master. During their battle, Aryn told the Sith, who she knew was named Darth Malgus, that he killed her master, and that she was here for revenge. Despite her best efforts, she was constantly driven back by the Sith. Her friend Zedrid swooped in on a hover vehicle and yelled at Aryn to get in so they could escape. Aryn does the smart thing and decides to escape, but she tells Malgus that she will make him hurt. While Zedrid was away, he learned of Alina Daru's location in a spaceport. He and Aryn knew of the Twi'lek from the holovid of the temple attack, though they did not yet know her name. Aryn's plan was to maybe kill the Twi'lek as revenge for what Malgus did to her master. She was still unsure, yet she knew justice must come for her master. Despite her better judgment, she leads on. Aryn was able to get T7 to make a diversion within the spaceport where Alina Daru was. This made everyone evacuate the area, leaving them free to get to Alina. Aryn makes her way to the Twi'lek, who reveals her name to her and guesses that she's here because Malgus wronged her in some way. Looking down at the Twi'lek, Aryn understood that the Twi'lek was innocent. If anything, she was a victim also. Her life must be horrible under Darth Malgus. Aryn doesn't kill the Twi'lek, but she does decide to stick around and lure Malgus in with the threat of Alina's safety. Eventually, Darth Malgus found Aryn Leneer, stood over the unconscious body of Alina Daru. She made him give safe passage out of the blockade to her friend Zedrid. Once those terms were met, she was ready to talk to Malgus. This time they faced, it was different. Aryn Leneer had realized that what her master was trying to say to her was to always be true to yourself. So she didn't approach Malgus with anger, but with peace. Peace of the past. Aryn Leneer was an incredibly formidable Jedi, yet she was no match for Darth Malgus. She was defeated in battle. Even though she lost, Malgus did not kill her. She eventually woke up to find Malgus telling her to leave the planet. Malgus told her that she had made him realize something, and that was currently worth her life. Malgus also told Aryn that the Jedi Council sold her out. They told the Sith she was coming. Her fate would be that of exile from the Order. After she safely leaves Coruscant, she seeks out her friend Zedrid, who is trying to make a new life for himself on Dantooine. On their journeys together, the two shared a kiss, so it's possible that they are now married. Yet we will have to wait and see. The story of Aryn Leneer will continue with Legacy of the Sith. We'll be sure to make another video if necessary, so make sure to subscribe to not miss a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Aryn? Aryn, what's wrong?
It's him. Malgus.
Malgus? What do you mean? What about him?
He's almost here. I can sense him. He's coming to Dantooine.
Then let's be ready.
You and me conquering the galaxy again? The future is looking up.
Jaesa Willsaam is a female human born on Alderaan. She lived throughout the era of Star Wars The Old Republic and eventually became a companion of the Sith warrior, also known as the Emperor's Wrath. So just how did this servant girl become so popular within the fanbase, and why is she legendary? Let's take a look back at where she started. Jaesa was the daughter of Parvin and Gregor Willsaam, who were both servants of a noble family. Jaesa was loved by her parents. As Jaesa got older, she fell in love with an Alderaan noble and was due to be married, which meant Jaesa and her parents would no longer be servants. They would be seen as noble people of Alderaan. However, this dream was smashed to pieces when the Jedi discovered her potential within the Force. She was recruited into the Order and her parents were told they would likely never see her again. The young and spirited Jaesa became the Padawan of Jedi Master Norman Carr. Her master saw incredible potential within Jaesa as she was so incredibly gifted with the Force so naturally. After she was adopted by the Jedi, she met a very wise and powerful Jedi named Yonlach. A Jedi that was feared by some within the Dark Council. Master Yonlach could see the power residing in Jaesa and helped her tap into it. Because of this, the two of them generated a Force bond. She was now able to interact with the Force on a completely different level above your typical Jedi. Master Yonlach said she would lead the Jedi to greatness. Through her connection to the Force, Jaesa was able to achieve the power of reading one's intentions. This power allowed her to reveal any and all hidden emotions and intentions from any person, unmasking any dark desires and seeing someone's true nature. But it was also more than all of that. As she used her power, she would be able to connect with the person mentally, meaning she would feel whatever they felt. This could be used against her. For example, if her parents were made to be tortured, she would sense that from across the galaxy and feel their pain, making it her own. The Jedi had Jaesa believe this power was a gift, and should be used only when necessary. You could say they held her back from exploring with the power, seeing what she could do. Jaesa's path to becoming a powerful Jedi had begun, but destiny called for something else. Master Norman Carr had a rival within the Sith Empire, known as Darth Barris. These two individuals had personal disputes caused by previous encounters. It didn't take long for their apprentices to get roped in. Eventually, Darth Barris ordered his apprentice to hunt down Norman Carr's new prized apprentice. The hunt began on Tatooine. Master Yonlach was a Jedi feared by many Sith. He was also a high-value target, so he decided to go into hiding on Tatooine. The young Jaesa Willsaam was seeking guidance from Yonlach and paid him a visit. It was because of this that the apprentice of Darth Barris began with Tatooine. All the apprentice found was Master Yonlach though, who you can choose to kill or spare. If Yonlach was to be killed, Jaesa would know not only because of her power, but because of their bond, much like Kreia and the Exile. Eventually, the apprentice of Darth Barris paid a visit to Jaesa's parents on Alderaan, which has some interesting choices attached to it, such as killing her parents or convincing them to align with the Empire. Either one would be seen as an attack on Jaesa to bring her out of hiding. It was after this happened that Jaesa decided to personally contact the apprentice of Barris via holocall. She wanted to end the conflict she and her family had been roped into, and wanted to meet face to face behind their masters' backs, so they could discuss without their masters interfering, given the fact they have personal squabbles. She invited the Sith to her ship, even going as far as to send coordinates, all to bring a peaceful end to the situation. However, her master Norman Carr caught wind of the plan and stopped her from doing it. Master Norman Carr then decided to call out Darth Barris in a 1v1 duel on Hutta. Of course, Darth Barris sends his apprentice. The Sith takes care of Norman Carr quite easily. In fact, the fight they had drove Master Norman Carr to reveal his true self and draw from the dark side. Once he's defeated, Jaesa shows up on the scene to see her master on his knees, clearly corrupted by the dark side. What happens next is very important for Jaesa. This is a moment that will decide her future. Fun fact for you, Jaesa Willsaam is the only companion in Star Wars The Old Republic that you can fully turn to the dark side of the Force. So as Jaesa stands there confused, the Sith seizes the opportunity to recruit Jaesa. This can go down one of two ways. You can choose the light side and she will join you to help change the Empire from within. She would continue to follow you, supporting your every decision, so long as it's in good benefit to the galaxy. However, now that Jaesa has seen her master fall to the dark side, and has seen that the dark side prevailed over the light, she is now much more susceptible to falling to the dark side herself. It's possible to convince her that the dark side is the path to true power. The Sith makes Jaesa use her intention-revealing power on her own broken master, confirming that he indeed was drawing from the dark side. Jaesa will join the Sith and learn to use the dark side of the Force and ultimately be free from the chains of the Jedi. As her first act of joining you, you are able to instruct her to execute her former master, which seals her conversion to the dark. Jaesa would continue to learn about the dark side and become a very powerful Sith. The Sith she had joined later became the Emperor's Wrath. It's also possible to romance Jaesa if you turn her to the dark side. The light side version of Jaesa cannot be romanced, of course. She holds the teachings of the light close to her heart, seeking only to change the Empire from within. The dark side version of Jaesa just wants to be free. She becomes very flirtatious and actively seeks violence like a fetish. I personally think the dark side version of Jaesa is one of the most badass Star Wars characters we've ever had. What do you think? And who would you like to see covered in the next Explained video? Be sure to leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section. Remember to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy the content on my channel. If you would like to help support my channel, which helps me make more videos, then please consider joining the channel as a member. It would really be appreciated. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, plebs.
Don't do it, Malcom!
Radiant city, bathed in light, forged by the molten gods.
Malcom! Father!
Jace Malcom was a human male born on the world of Barcaria. He was raised on his parents' ranch where he would spend most of his time helping out with chores and maintaining the business. As time went on, he had transformed into a strong young man with a curious mind. Other than being a fan of gravball, a sports pastime for Jace, he wanted to explore the stars, see other worlds and meet new people. With an opportunity to chase his most ambitious dreams, Jace Malcom enlisted with the Republic military when he finally came of age. He would have been roughly 18 years old at this time. We actually don't know Jace's exact date of birth, however it would be safe to assume 18 years or maybe 19 at the time of the resurgent Sith Empire's return. You see, when Jace enlisted with the military, his first mission was a post on Korriban's surface. Jace had single-handedly rescued a stranded archaeology team from a swarm of flesh-eating claw slugs. This heroic action and bravery on just his first mission earned Jace a promotion to the rank of corporal. When he first signed on, the starting rank he had was private. The rank above was specialist. However, Jace's promotion saw him go straight to corporal, which is right above the rank of specialist. This alone would have given Jace some fame along his fellow troops. With this new rank came a new mission. Jace was sent to a new post orbiting the planet Korriban. As we know, it was during this moment that the resurgent Sith Empire returned and declared war against the Republic and Jedi. A young Jedi Knight named Shan, along with a smuggler named Nico Okar and Jace Malcom himself were the only survivors of this attack. They were able to return to the Republic and warn them of the impending Sith threat. Jace would end up being placed within Infantry Unit 326. Over a few more years as the war raged on, Jace had been deployed on many top-secret missions, proving himself as a capable soldier paid off for his military career. However, Jace also tended to veer off command and do things his own way. After seeing how brutal the Empire was, Jace knew he had to take a similar approach in return, otherwise they would never win. Because of this attitude, Jace became a hardcore Republic patriot. He believed in defending the Republic until his last breath, even if it meant his entire squad would die with him. Because of the wildish yet successful actions of Jace, he earned his infantry unit the nickname Havoc Squad. This name became famous among the Republic military, and to know you were getting help from Havoc Squad was to know that you were getting the best soldiers. During his time serving, the Jedi Knight Shan would often accompany Jace on his missions. This led to them both developing a good relationship, and they were able to rely on each other as friends. However, over time, Jace's insubordination landed him in some minor trouble. His commander sent his squad to the quiet and peaceful planet of Alderaan. Believing he was no longer on the front lines, Jace was sent to task and aid the Republic soldiers in the forests of Alderaan, but Darth Malgus had suddenly spearheaded an invasion, and just like that, Jace was back to work. Havoc Squad was able to exchange blows with Malgus's forces for about 2 weeks, until eventually they set a trap for Malgus. As we know from the CGI cutscene, even Satele Shan shows up to help here. After winning the battle for Alderaan, Jace and Satele Shan became much closer. The fact Satele had basically saved Jace's life was enough to make him fall in love with her. They had both spoken in private and decided to engage in a secret relationship. However, soon after, Satele witnessed Jace perform a dark action. Jace had ordered some Imperial escapists to be shot down. Satele had strongly disagreed and argued they should let them flee, as they are unarmed and posing no threat. Satele did not win the argument. This was devastating to her, as she now knew that she was pregnant with Jace's child. Satele decided it was best she did not tell Jace about the child. She also decided to break things off with him. Be sure to check out my SWTOR Explained video, and be on the lookout for my Shan Explained video coming soon. Jace Malcom was devastated when Satele broke things off, but he still had a war to win. He carried on with his life, none the wiser to his son's existence. Next for Jace was a promotion to the leader of a Special Forces division. General Gaza had been very impressed with Jace and Havoc Squad, so much so that she ordered him to create a Special Forces division with the sole purpose of training more soldiers just like Havoc Squad. Jace accepted this calling and even surrendered his command of Havoc Squad so he could dedicate his time to this. Over the next few decades, Jace Malcom became the most famous soldier within the entire Republic military. He was even granted many awards and commendations to commemorate his great achievements. Jace received 5 marks of dedication, 2 medals of valor, and even a Chancellor's Service Medal. Jace even went on to quell the infighting on Alderaan between houses. When Jace was around the age of 60, maybe a little older even, was when he discovered the truth about his son. At the time, Jace was made the Supreme Commander of the military and was set to work alongside the Republic SIS division. His co-worker, Director Marcus, had an operative working for him by the name of Shan. When Jace discovered this name, he decided to ask Marcus more about him and even question whether or not there was any relation to Satele Shan of the Jedi Order. The last name Shan was actually a common name on Coruscant, so Jace was surprised when Marcus told him that he was indeed related to Satele. With this revelation came a few more questions, however. The director also explained that this was top secret information, that only he and a select few others knew about this. Jace was currently working on a mission that involved taking on the Imperial dreadnought known as the Ascendant Spear. For the mission, Jace was sending a special custom-made team of only the best. He decided to pick Shan, so he had the chance to meet him in person and see what he was like. It was clear that Jace was beginning to believe that might be his own child. Jace was a very smart, well put together man. Figuring this out was actually quite easy for him once he looked up Theron's personal files and checked his birth date, confirming what he suspected to be the truth. Once a team was put together, including the likes of Nostral and the smuggler Twi'lek Tethith, Jace had the chance to invite Theron to a private sitting where he was able to question him further. After sharing a hard Mandalorian beverage, the two began talking about Satele Shan. Theron clearly didn't feel comfortable talking about Satele, but Jace was able to find out that Satele had given Theron up at birth for the sake of serving the Republic. Theron had even confessed that he wasn't mad about this. He respected her choice. Theron was raised by a Jedi known as Nagani Zur. Jace had further asked Theron about his father, whether or not he knew him. Theron had replied by saying Master Nagani Zur was his father. He's the one who raised him. Eventually, Jace was able to spit out the truth. Jace told Theron that he looked up his birthday and connected the dots. He was his father. Theron wasn't really ready to accept Jace as a father, so he protested the fact that they only shared a biological connection, but are and would be strangers. However, after more talking, the two of them were able to agree that everything had happened the right way. It worked out for the best. But Jace wanted to let Theron know that he would be welcome to get to know him more, that he didn't have to be strangers if he doesn't want to be. They could meet and just talk, almost like friends. Jace felt like he owed Theron the truth, and today was a day that brought him some peace in his chaotic life. Together, Jace and Theron saw the mission through with the Ascendant Spear, and huge celebrations took place. After all this, Jace and Theron had finally agreed to meet up from time to time to get that drink they talked about. The next major event with Jace Malcom was the war for Iokath. This story has two endings. The first one would have Jace Malcom attempt to use the super weapon on the planet Iokath, which would lead to his death. The second is where Jace survives and Empress Asina dies instead. This ending would have Jace remain a Republic hero and still be alive to this day within the Old Republic online game. Thank you for watching this video, make sure you subscribe for more future Star Wars Explained videos, and may the Force be with you. Over the countless generations of Jedi, we've seen many different Jedi councils come and go. However, it wasn't until the rule of Darth Vizla, Emperor of the Sith, that a Dark Council would be created. We have heard whispers and rumours of a Sith Council that existed during the reign of past ancient Sith Lords, such as Marr, but nothing that resembled the likes of which we see in the Old Republic, created by the Emperor himself. The past ancient Dark Lords used to have a group named the Sith Council that would act as advisors or allies to the current reigning Dark Lord. This group would often congregate on the planet Ziost, which was widely known as the Sith Citadel at the time. By the time of the Great Hyperspace War that was spearheaded by Naga Sadow, the Sith Council had fragmented and no longer functioned, split by infighting. Eventually, the Sith Council was recreated by Darth Vizla and renamed to the Dark Council. This was after the Sith retreated from their loss in the Great Hyperspace War and began to hide and rebuild on Dromund Kaas, which is where the new Sith Citadel was constructed. While the name may make it seem like the Dark Council would be similar to the Jedi Council, however that is far from the truth. In reality, the Dark Council was created so that the Emperor may pass responsibility to lesser individuals who are more appropriate for any given task. This allowed the Emperor to focus his attention on his own ambitions, while a new body of power was put in place to manage the entire Sith Empire. The Emperor chose and appointed 12 of the most powerful Sith Lords and gave them a seat on the Dark Council. Each seat would rule and manage a specific element of the Sith Empire. This was also known as the Spheres of Influence, segregated units of workload that could be given to individuals with the correct skills to deal with that task. There was the Sphere of Military Offense, Military Strategy, Defense of the Empire, Intelligence, Production and Logistics, Ancient Knowledge, Mysteries, Philosophy, Expansion and Diplomacy, Law and Justice, Technology, and finally, Biotic Science. Each head of sphere would be expected to uphold their duties to the fullest extent. To be given a role on the Dark Council was the highest of honours among the Sith. You were to have no equal and answer only to the Emperor himself. A Dark Council chamber was constructed on Korriban within the Academy's highest levels, and also on Dromund Kaas, which was the Emperor's citadel. Eventually, there was also a Dark Council chambers placed within Viken Space Dock of the Imperial Fleet. Some of the earliest records of the Dark Council tell a few different things. The first is a Sith Lord named Darth Zavakon, who was a survivor of the Great Hyperspace War, and was appointed among the first to be on the Dark Council when the Emperor first created it. This Darth Zavakon was able to discover that many Sith were hiding secrets and dark side rituals from the Emperor and Empire whole. When this was exposed, Darth Zavakon established the Imperial Reclamation Service, which has had authority over everything since that time. One of the next known records is of an attempted coup against the Emperor. A Dark Council member by the name of Darth Lokes had summoned the other 11 council members to the Sith Citadel on Dromund Kaas, where she then convinced them to join her in overthrowing the Emperor. When the full group of 12 walked the steps to the Citadel, a flash of light beamed upon them and instantly killed all except Darth Lokes. Lokes herself was captured and tortured to death by the Emperor personally. Another record shows that two previous Dark Council members, Darth Kalar and Darth Victon, had both challenged each other to a Kagath, which was a dark side tradition that would have two Sith Lords face off against each other, power base versus power base. This Kagath led to the destruction of the Sith Citadel on Dromund Kaas, which forced both the Dark Lords to call a draw. However, the Emperor had already ordered the other Dark Council members to kill the two Dark Lords soon after they were replaced, and all of their assets were seized by the Empire and used to repair the damage they caused on Dromund Kaas. Over the entirety of Vitiate's rule, a Dark Council was mostly in effect. There was one other instance where the Emperor murdered all of the council members again and even declared martial law. This was during the Revan novel. Be sure to check out my Revan video to learn that full story. Fast forwarding to the timeline of Star Wars The Old Republic, the online game, we see a complete Dark Council, with famous faces such as Darth Marr. This Dark Council served the same purpose as past councils, however in this period, the Emperor was silent and the Empire looked to the Dark Council mostly for leadership and instruction. For a long time, Darth Marr himself was seen as the unofficial leader of the Dark Council, as he was one of the oldest and most powerful Sith Lords of that time. By the time of the Eternal Raids and the death of the Emperor, the Dark Council had changed. You'll either see Vowron or Asina as your Sith ruler this time around, along with the Dark Council member size being shrunk down to 5, with their spheres also altered to accommodate the change. One such person on this new Dark Council is Darth Malora, who was actually someone you meet very early in the game and has now progressed into leadership of the Sphere of Technology. If you want to see another video that explores the members of the new Dark Council, such as who currently sits there and what they do, then be sure to hit the like button on this video and we'll follow up with an even longer lore video. For now, thank you for watching and may the Force be with you.
Yes, it's working. The box is activating. I can feel its pull.
There's keeping on.
The monster is too strong. But quick, give me your power or I'll be pulled in.
You really think I'm that stupid?
No, I'll kill you! You will regret this!
Takida Melaswe-sama, word sign in Meremnai, Saigatrawa Digay.
Khem Val was a member of the Dashird species, a species that was known for being brutally good at killing Force users. Unlike Trandosians or Mandalorians, who might fight a Force user to prove themselves, a Dashird is different. They kill Force users so they can eat or devour them, literally and physically. This gave them an intimidating and fearsome reputation among the galaxy. The homeworld of the Dashird was named Yurkup. However, this planet was destroyed during the Great Sith War that followed Marka Ragnos' death. That particular event happened in the year of 3996 BBY, when a Sith Lord named Elima Kito used their powers of the dark side to make a star go supernova. The following catastrophe wiped out many worlds, including the homeworld of the Dashird. The Sith who conjured the magics also perished in the aftermath. The story of Khem Val begins within the time of Tulak Horde. We don't have a specific date for his birth, we only know that it was sometime before 5000 BBY. This predates even Marka Ragnos' reign of the Sith. During Tulak Horde's reign, and before, Khem Val served this Dark Lord as a shadow warrior and companion. Khem and Tulak duelled back when they first met on his homeworld of Yurkup. When Tulak won the duel, he earned the Dashird's loyalty. Together, they won countless battles, and Khem was allowed to feast on all those who were Force sensitive. It's rumoured that Khem killed Force users in the thousands during their campaign. Tulak Horde's apprentice, Orton Sealer, also had a Dashird companion known as Veshik Urk. This Dashird was also the rival of Khem Val. However, Khem did not feel the same way. Khem Val saw Veshik not as a rival, but as a weakling slave. Eventually, many rivals and enemies were seeking to destroy Tulak Horde, so in an effort to keep his greatest warrior safe from his rivals, Chulak ordered that Khem Val be placed in stasis until he is called upon once again. Khem's stasis chamber became widely known to be housed within the tomb of Naga Sadow. However, this is a continuity error. In fact, Naga Sadow's resting place was not established until after his death many years later, meaning that the Dashade, Khem Val, was hidden away in a construction that was somehow connected to a tomb that did not exist yet. Either Tulak Horde's predictions capability were impeccable, or the story writers for Star Wars The Old Republic did not consider the date of Naga Sadow's timeline and error. It wasn't until nearly over 1,000 years later when a nameless Sith acolyte discovered Khem Val and was freed from his stasis. When Khem awakens, he learns his former master Tulak Horde is now dead. Despite being in stasis for so long, Khem lashes out and is able to escape from the stasis prison. This implies that Khem had the strength to leave any time he wanted, but chose to stay and wait for his master's return. However, he succumbs to the acolyte and is forced to offer his servitude once again, but this time it wouldn't be so willingly. Khem had been brought back to a not so different life. He was once again to serve the Sith and aid them with their endeavours. However, his true loyalty still lied with Tulak Horde, and he longed for revenge against those who betrayed him. Khem would even idly threaten the new Sith he served on occasion. The world he lived in now was full of Force users at near every corner. Khem had to be stopped by his new Sith master time to time before he got too much into the role of a deadly Dashade. However, he was allowed to indulge on some Force users his master approved of, or was instructed to kill first.
Eat them both, Khem.
They'll be our Willsaam.
Keep your pet at bay for just a moment, Acolyte.
Khem, what is it you do to Force users again?
Gibai Iswis Aman Hangwijins.
Or Tosin, is that a Dashade? Maybe this isn't such a good idea.
Izose Waitai Spira Press in Kretai. In Pise E Wanata Atragata Indais.
The Dashade would continue his new life under the service of his new master, who was an up-and-coming Sith apprentice. Because the Acolyte defeated Khem, he was now bound to serve him and obey his orders. The relationship was even enforced by a type of Force bond. Khem only idolized Tulak Horde and would spend much time reminding the Sith he served now that they are a little Sith and mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. For all intents and purposes, Khem is acting in a very depressed manner. He is distraught and his real master is gone, and now the galaxy has changed. His former life offered him glory and feasts alongside Tulak Horde. The fact that Khem Val idolized Tulak so much is a testament to the power level of the ancient Sith. Tulak had inspired loyalty in Khem, unlike his new Sith master, who just forced him into servitude. Although Khem Val did think this way on most occasions, as the Sith apprentice grew stronger, Khem begins to warm up to his service. When the new master allows Khem to feast and even encourages his basic behaviour, Khem will start to understand that he actually has a role to play. However, this progress is completely hindered when the Sith's own master betrays them. A Sith known as Darth Zash had tricked Khem's master into attending a ritual which would have their physical body stolen. In fact, Khem suspected betrayal and warned his master long before this event that Darth Zash's mouth stank of Sith lies. Despite the warnings, Khem and his master attended this ritual. However, Khem Val was able to interrupt Darth Zash and stop the ritual. Or at least, that's what he thought would happen. Because Khem had attacked Zash during the process, somehow his own body had been infiltrated by Darth Zash, who originally intended to steal the body of her Sith apprentice. When Darth Zash realizes she's inside the Dashade's body, she attempts to attack the Sith. However, due to the bond between master and servant and its enforcement through the Force, she was unable to harm the Sith at all. Khem Val was able to retake control, and he becomes very displeased with the outcome. Khem did not want to share his body with the Sith he called a witch. With Darth Zash now out of the way essentially, Khem's master becomes a more powerful figure within the Sith. They also become the targets of another Sith Lord named Darth Thanaton. The Dashade does his best to serve his Sith master as they constantly roam the galaxy in search of new power. During the entire time, Khem and Zash still had to share a body. There was no immediate way for them to be separated, and for now, Khem Val seemed to maintain the most control. Eventually, Khem Val was able to discover an old Jedi record that stated his old rival, Veshik Erk, was also held in stasis for some time and was dead when discovered. Khem states that if he were free of his master's service, then he would hunt those Jedi down and feast on them for revenge. Khem didn't have any attachment to Veshik, but he did acknowledge that they were once bound by duty to the Sith of their time. However, Veshik's master of the time was a Sith named Orton Sealer. Khem Val believed that Veshik allowed Orton Sealer to make him a slave, whereas he and Tulak Hord were partners in crime. Ironically, Khem Val now lived that life of slavery under his new master, a master he did not approve of. Yet. When Khem's master spends enough time with him to have a conversation, you can learn that Khem personally helped Tulak Hord on his ascension to Dark Lord of the Sith. Together, they slayed entire armies and claimed victory in almost every scenario. You could say Khem Val worships Tulak Hord as a god almost. However, as time goes on, Khem begins to understand that his master had left him behind and that now life had taken a cruel turn. Once again, this was a form of depression that we see within a giant hulking monster, a being who lacks the fundamental will to live due to the loss of his master, the feelings of abandonment, and most of all, the feeling of failure. Failure to help his true master in his time of most desperate need. Eventually, Khem will receive a communication from a cloaked figure who tells him that Veshik Erk lives on Tatooine. After bringing this information to his master, they both agree to go to Tatooine so Khem Val can get some closure from the last people around him from the time before. When they arrive, they easily discover Veshik in a hut upon the Dune Sea. Veshik was alive and present and was even accompanied by 2 Sith followers. After a brief catch-up with Khem and some mild taunts, the 2 Dashades quickly turn to violence. Their rivalry had lasted for over 1,000 years, and now they were able to clash. Of course, Khem Val proved to be the superior, as he always knew himself to be anyways. At this point, Khem Val truly begins to see the light in his service to the new master. Once again, however, that light would be sullied by the all-consuming presence of Darth Zash within his body. Khem states to his master that if something isn't done about it, then he's going to rampage on the ship and kill everyone on board. This was just a mere furtive action though. Not too long after this, Khem Val awakens from a slumber that delivered him a vision of his old master's bones, Tulak Hord, being desecrated. Khem Val tells his new master this and explains that he cannot stand by as someone fouls his old master's remains. Together, they both discover that Darth Zash had been the one to do this. She had taken control of Khem's body and planted the bones in her personal stash on Hoth. When Khem Val interacts with the remains, it somehow weakens his mental state, and this allows Darth Zash to take control more often and for longer periods of time. So the entire thing was a trap for Khem Val, so Zash could have more time to research a way to escape or take control. When Khem Val is eventually able to talk to his master again, he asks that they try to discover what Zash is up to, so they can stop her once and for all. When Khem and his master agree, Khem allows Zash to take control so the Sith can question her. What they find out is that Zash knows of a Rakatan artifact that can lock away an essence. She intended to do this to Khem so she could take final control of the body. The Sith Master can choose to aid or refuse Zash. best course of action is to help obtain the box and then allow Zash and Khem to fight mentally between themselves for control without interfering. Khem Val even approves of this action. This is likely because he constantly stated that he would destroy the witch himself. After the use of the Rakatan box they found on Taris, Darth Zash is successfully expelled and imprisoned into the artifact. Khem Val's appreciation of this is eternal, and from this point forward, he serves you faithfully and even begins to climb away from his depression and trauma. However, if you choose to aid Lord Zash and not Khem Val, eventually this will result in Khem Val finding a way to seek revenge upon you within the Flashpoint, the Nathema conspiracy. The same can be said for Zash if you help the Dashade. With his mind now free from the witch Zash, Khem and the Sith, who is now a Dark Council member, continue on their exploits across the galaxy. After the Eternal raids and the capture of his master at the hands of the Eternal family, the Dashade went on his own personal journey. The game SWTOR leads us to believe that in his master's absence, Khem had been hunting and killing Jedi mainly on the world of Orsus, which he calls the Red World. When the Outlander finally reunites with their Dashade companion, they learn that Khem has forever respected them and that now he no longer seeks to hunt, but instead to bond. After so much time of killing and conflict, the Dashade finally sought love, the final component of his happy ending. Hey everyone, thank you once again for checking out another Explained video. I would really appreciate it if you would hit the thumbs up on this video and please subscribe to the channel. We have so much more coming very soon. I'm really glad that you guys are enjoying these videos and I have no intention on stopping anytime soon. So please subscribe, support the channel. Thank you very much. I'll catch you guys next time.